He never shuts up. Welcome, everybody, to another wonderful hump day, Wednesday, the best day. Weirdly, like for us, it's the best day. It's the day we spend the most time together. Let me adjust this microphone, trying to get it out of the way a little bit more. And I'm excited as hell for a hump day. Today's the day I signed the lease on the new spot. So hopefully next week we have internet that works all the time. I have been on the phone with Cox. I've been on the phone with Streamlabs. I've been on the phone, or I guess on a chat with YouTube and TikTok. I've talked to everybody, and I've even done some research. I upgraded my Perplexity to Pro, which, by the way, I don't know if you guys know this. If you have PayPal, I think it's for everybody. I assume it's for everybody. If you go to PayPal right now, there's an option you can get Perplexity Pro for free for 1 year if you sign up to pay with PayPal. One full year of Perplexity Pro. You can do all sorts of things. If you have free AI and then you upgrade, you'll see there's a massive difference. They'll actually do stuff for you. They'll do tasks for you. So there we go. Mike is here. He's playing video games and eating a hot pocket. Well done, Mike. I did want to let you guys know it was kind of a last minute ad, but today we're going to have the wonderful and brilliant um, Athena. She's gonna be here probably in about 30 45 minutes, and she's gonna talk to us about what's going on in Sudan, which sucks. She's been messaging me stuff all morning and last night, and I was trying to play catch up, and then I was just like, "Can you just do it? Because can you just do it?" There she is, right there. I didn't forget your name. I just forget everything. To answer your question you just sent me, Athena, I cannot put your name there, but Jen's working on something. Jen will message you, and we'll work on something to put in the background. Um, Trying to think of a way to do this. I don't know another way to do this other than I guess you could stream it yourself, but no, like it's just weird with Streamlabs. We can't I can't bring people up through the chat and have the account there for your followers. So not 100% sure what to do there, but message Jen. She can help you out. So we're going to get to some news and then we'll have Athena here, and I don't know if that'll take up the rest of the day or not. It may not. But I assume if today's a good day to test the theory that people are fucking with us and they don't like the
Okay.
information that we're putting out there. Hey,
One question: Can we? Can we just can we turn on guests on TikTok, or we can't
there's
do
no
that
way
at
to
all?
do it through Streamlabs. Yeah, unfortunately.
Okay.
Yeah,
Just double checking. All right.
I wish. So there we go. We're gonna talk about that. I do want to get into some early some news though. I wanted to show this. This is Ed Krasenstein. It's just a quick video, but some of the aftermath, the hurricane that hit Jamaica. It's terrible, and our friends in Jamaica have a lot of rebuilding to do. But you can see some of the devastation there. So, if you have an opportunity to help the people of Jamaica in any way, if you come across content creators or funds, just make sure if we find a good one, we'll promote it. But just make sure you're not sending it to some dick bag who's going to steal all that money. So. Yeah, exactly. Just a reminder, we are entirely crowdfunded here, so if you can help us out, knock out our gift goal early is better. That's up in the top left corner. There's the pay links for that. And then, as always, we do have paid memberships. This last Monday, we watched The Big Short, which was awesome. And this next Monday, I'll announce what our movie's going to be on Friday. But we watch movies together in Discord. It's a good time. I don't talk, which is better for everybody. This last time, Discord just shut me the fuck up, wouldn't even let me talk. So here we go. Please talk about Jesse Mack Butler, insane story. What the fuck? Who is Jesse Mack Butler? You guys know that name? Jesse
Thanks for the
Mack
sub.
Butler? Do you guys know this name? Jesus. Didn't come across my timeline today. Months later, a text told Sweeney the details of credible sexual assault allegations. So this is a baseball player from Stillwater. Trigger warning. Told Sweeney the details of credible sexual assault allegations. Case leveled against Butler at school, including the Butler raped KS after he recorded strangling her to unconsciousness. KS was too ashamed to tell her mother, but reported the attack at school along with another young woman in the hope of protecting
Thanks
others.
for the sub.
Jesus. And what happened here? There we go. There's the obligatory TikTok ban.
Thanks for the sub.
Nothing? Pled no contest. Faced 11 felony charges. Granted youthful offender status by Judge Susan Worthington. So no jail time after pleading no contest? There's the charges. I'll have to get more details on that. That's crazy. I don't know the details of that case. That doesn't sound good. Trump will pardon him. Yeah, he'll probably be in Trump's cabinet by the end of the day. Probably ought to go. I didn't know anything about that story. If you guys have like a full story you can send me, I'll look into it. That did not come across my timeline. I don't want to promote Nick Fuentes. I've said that. I think in the past I've given too much time to Nick Fuentes. I think what Nick Fuentes is doing right now and what the right is doing is they're trying to soften him because they realize he has a really big audience and they don't want to lose that audience. They also don't want to stand up to that audience. So Nick Fuentes went on Tucker Carlson and they had an insane interview. And you don't need to watch it, but this is a who was this? Ami Kozak, I think is who posts this. I think that's who this is. They just did like a 2-minute recap of basically how this interview went. So you can watch this instead.
So how did you get fired from that job? What happened?
Well, I said that Jews were parasites and that they were controlling all the halls of power and they need to be fought at every level and that they never could be trusted and they were disgusting vermin. I called some of my colleagues Jew boys. You all need to be fought. You're disgusting parasitic creatures. And that Jews effectively are just this parasitic force in our society that's holding white men back. And I also
Imagine being the sorry, just real quick. Imagine being the person in the chat here that sees somebody get no punishment for rape, and then comes in here and goes, "Oh, I thought you guys liked the justice system when it was going after Trump." Yeah, dude. Trump is not everything. I don't know if you know this. The world doesn't revolve around him. It's crazy that, I mean, I guess it makes sense that you heard the word rape and then you associate it with Trump. I guess that makes sense. But that's a weird thing you just did. Anyways, back to this Nick Fuentes and Tucker Carlson interview.
Parasitic creatures, and that Jews effectively
both of these impressions are good. The Fuentes and Tucker impersonations are so good.
Are just this parasitic force in our society that's holding white men back. And I also said how blacks were racially inferior as well. So
that's it?
Yes. That was it.
Can't understand why that would upset people. And what happened next after that?
And after that, they just fired me, so.
Oh. And who likes parasites anyway? I mean, I don't know anyone who likes parasites. I had a stomach bug that was a parasite. I had diarrhea for a week. It was bad. It was bad. Like,
got
really bad. I remember it was... I ended up having to see a gastro who's Jewish, actually, and oops, I guess they start it and they finish it.
Exactly.
And so you said all those things, you said them. What are your actual beliefs? Like, what do you believe?
I'm generally a good person. I'm a Catholic. I love everybody. I want everybody to succeed.
Right, of course.
I certainly don't wish harm to any people. I'm not a violent person. And I'm just a regular, fun-loving guy who wants everyone to prosper together.
So, despite everything you've actually...
I know it's a skit, but it's pissing me off. Yeah, don't watch the real thing. I just saw clips from it, and I don't give a fuck, but this is great.
Said, like everything you've ever said, you don't actually believe all those things. You are actually a nice person, like a good person, a tolerant, mainstream person, despite all the things you've ever said or believed, really, like deeply held, hateful, disgusting beliefs. Despite all those beliefs and all the statements and all the things you've ever said, you're actually not those things. You're actually like a nice, good person, is what you're saying.
Yeah, despite everything I've ever said ever about anything and all of my kind of core beliefs, this is what I'm saying now.
It's so true. So true. You know, before we continue, I think this would actually be really helpful, like really helpful. 1 second. Here, everybody, watch this.
I like that.
It's the neuralizer. It erases everyone's memory. It's from Men in Black.
Well, honestly, I prefer Men in White.
Right, of course.
So,
Me too, actually. I'm not sure, but maybe. One more time.
There you go. So now you got the whole gist of it. People trying to just like sane wash Nick Fuentes because Nick Fuentes has an army of angry incels that all pretend not to be racist. A bad idea. Like, we've done this before. This is what happens when we mainlined Charlie Kirk and we mainlined Steven Crowder and we mainlined all these people who would say racist things. Then they would get in front of like a national audience. So they're like, I'm not like that. Look at me. I'm just a normal, God-fearing man. And then you go to their podcast or their paid stuff and you just hear them being racist. We've done this. It doesn't end well. Don't do it with Nick Fuentes. You don't want the dumbest, angriest people in charge of this country. We can see how bad this is going for us now that we do have the dumbest and angriest people in charge of this country. And even like the dumbest of the dumb, the angriest of the angry, even some of those people we're starting to see like, it's a bridge too far. Here's Marge on CNN with Wolf Blitzer speaking out against her own party for like the most basic stuff. Like, hey, don't let people die. Don't steal money from poor people and give it to the rich.
I don't think it's good advice that a government shutdown is going to help Republicans in the midterms. I don't agree with that. I also don't think it's good advice that Republicans ignoring the health insurance crisis is going to be good for midterms. I actually think that would be very bad for midterms. And I think that just not staying focused on America First policies is detrimental as well. I don't think it's
going to be good for the midterms either there, Marge. I'm with Marge on this one. Literally the goofy laugh. Do you think maybe Tucker Carlson just didn't know how to laugh, and so he just adopted one? And he was just like, I gotta come up with a laugh because I'm a psycho. And he just chose the goofy one. Nobody will think a guy who laughs like this is a psycho. I wonder if he has any idea at all how crazy he looks when he laughs like that. And it's always after saying something insane. The main point with these Republicans, the main like talking point, the main through line that we have now is just like consistent victimhood. Wake up, cry about some shit, blame liberals, claim that the country's being destroyed, and then go to sleep, start over. This is Nick Shirley. I believe he was one of the people that was at the White House when they were talking about Antifa, and he's in Portland. You can see by the rain here, which is, I assume, that this is acid rain caused by the witchcraft going on in Portland. But they're having a hard time finding people to interview to make Antifa, in air quotes, look bad. And watch how hard he's going to try right here to make this person look like, one, a victim, and two, believable.
What do you think about these protesters?
I hate them.
Yeah, how do you feel about living in this building just
They
next
throw
to the
bombs at me at night. I've been harassed and everything.
Yeah, you walk away at that. If you're a reporter and you get a microphone and you say, how do you feel about these protesters? And the person on the other side of that microphone says, they throw bombs at me at night. You go, all right, sir, have a nice day. And you walk away because that's a crazy person. That's not somebody you should be listening to. Of course, nobody's throwing bombs at him. What is he talking about? No pushback here from Nick Shirley? Just none at all. Yeah, that makes sense.
It's because I voted for Trump.
Do you think the National Guard should come here?
Yeah. Yes, I do.
And what do you think about these protests?
Who hasn't had bombs thrown at them because they voted for Trump?
Just constantly being out here. Do you think they've lost the plot as far as what they're protesting for?
Yeah, they're turned into just a mixed bunch of, I don't even know what they don't even know what they're protesting about, really. They're just out here.
Yeah, they're protesting ICE occupying their city and rounding up people like the Gestapo. Could you help them out, Nick? You want to let them know what the protest is about? Maybe it'd stop getting bombed. Looks like the bombs got a lot of his teeth, by the way. I wonder if the bombs were landing in his mouth.
Protest.
Is it making the quality of your life harder?
Yes, it is. The harassment I get because I'm a Trump voter. I mean, they're throwing bombs at us and stuff. It's
Really?
Round two, no pushback. Just they're throwing bombs at us.
Came inside your apartment and thrown
No,
a bomb?
we were out at the park and they threw bombs at us.
Just because you voted for Trump?
Yeah, because I booed them when I drove past them.
So this man lives right
He booed them and they threw bombs at him, bath bombs. I've seen F-bombs here. I've seen, yeah. Is this where all our Tomahawk missiles are? Is this where all these javelins are? Is that why we took so long to get them over to Ukraine? 'Cause Antifa stole them and we're shooting them at this very, very sensible man.
Here at the apartment complex
Meth bomb, actually.
building, just right outside of the ICE detention building.
This is my favorite part. This is my favorite part. You're supposed to be scared of this?
Complex building, just right outside.
A person in a unicorn costume with an umbrella. People just casually walking, and then that looks like maybe a "Don't Tread on Me" flag there. It's probably mocking them. How scared are you right now? Look at all these leaves. The trees all used to have leaves until the bombs came. The bomb came and a inflatable unicorn showed up. This is there's a reason they're not showing this. There's a reason they're just talking to the lunatic here.
The ICE detention building, and he's literally received people throwing stuff at him inside the park because he voted for Trump.
Yeah.
It literally is. Is it literally? But this is the victimhood. I voted for Trump. That's why. No, he told you why they threw shit at him, because he booed them. If that happened, no, he said I booed them and they got mad. Why does this have anything to do with Trump? I think what you're saying is you voted for Trump, and you just worship Trump, just like all the other Republicans that are here. Good to see you, Republicans. Nice to have you here again for your Donald Trump worship service. I think that's what he's saying. I love Trump, so I booed them, and then they got mad at me.
It's horrible. Yeah.
What do they call you, these people?
They call me a Nazi.
Yeah. Well,
For what?
Go away, Nazi. And just because I have my Trump hat usually on. Yeah, my grandfather died in a concentration camp, so I know.
So your grandfather died in a concentration camp, and now these people call you a Nazi.
Yeah. Yes. And it's.
I don't know if you guys know this, but like Nazis had people die. Like Nazis had family members die in concentration camps too. I don't know if you guys knew that. It wasn't just for Jewish people.
It's really offensive, I think.
That is very offensive. Your grandfather died because of concentration camps, and now they're calling you a Nazi because you vote for and support Trump.
For Trump, yeah.
And so outside the ICE detention facility building, you have...
Why? Without a bulletproof vest? Without full Kevlar? So brave.
These apartment complexes where people are living, and a lot of people who say...
I thought all the windows were gone too. Shouldn't these all be boarded up? Trump told me these were all boarded up. Looks like a pretty nice area of town.
They voted for Trump or not believe or support these protesters have been labeled as opposition. And that man himself even said people have thrown literal bombs at him on the streets.
Ow! Ow! Even that guy himself, he said that they threw literal bombs at him. He did say that. I guess that's fair reporting. He did say that.
For supporting Trump. And they call him a Nazi. But his grandfather died in a concentration camp. That's pretty messed up if you ask me.
Wow. There you go. They are desperate. And these people in Portland are just mostly ignoring them. Everybody knows they're there to get them riled up. And so they mostly just ignore them. And I'm here for it. I actually want to, I didn't add this to the timeline, but you know how they've been talking about, there was that, remember that the lady who, she had the black eye. She said she got assaulted, and she showed up to the White House with all her makeup on, and then she, then for the photo op, she took her makeup off, and it looks like maybe created a black eye as well. We've seen the video. She definitely got whacked in the face with a flagpole. I'm not saying she wasn't hit. She was. But at the end of that, they said there's this apartment, this Antifa apartment that they always take people to. And look, trigger warning. This guy's going to be really scary. This is the person who leases the Antifa apartment. He's going to tell you about all the Antifa stuff going on in there.
My name is Chandler Patey. This is my very normal apartment, and it has been referred
Sorry, it's a little soft.
to by right-wing social media grifters as the Antifa safe house. But I just let people use my sink and use my bathroom, and then I
Antifa
store medical
apartment.
supplies here because
Yes.
sometimes camp gets swept and we need some emergency medical supplies. We're we're like 1 block away from the ICE facility here, and I've just been letting people use my bathroom when they get pepper sprayed, or just if they need to use the bathroom, right? or
Tony, we are covering them because they're silly. They are desperate, and I think that their desperation is silly, and I'm going to laugh at it. And the reason I'm showing it, and the reason that you're upset with me right now, is because these are your people, and they're fucking stupid. And so you're being represented by dipshits. Your government is full of dipshits, and all of these people on your side. That dude was in the White House the other day to help take down Antifa. We're making fun of you, bud. We're making fun of you and all your friends. It's not hypocritical to make fun of you. It might be mean. Perhaps you could call it bullying. I'm not going to say the nicest things here. You could accuse me of that, but I don't think it's hypocritical. I think that mocking them is silly.
when gas is too much and they need to decon, right? And then I also use my apartment just to like have things that we all need, such as keep things that are expensive and might get stolen, such as like gas mask filters and things. But that is the extent of what you could refer to this as like a safe house, right? I just let people have access to running water and a toilet.
No, don't give them running water and a toilet. Devastating. It's absolutely devastating. I said that. Don't apologize for starting out a little soft. It hardly matters to finishing. That's true. That's good advice. Thank you. Speaking of fucking losers, now we've got the losers on the street that are reporting, and now we got a loser in the streets LARPing. This is Greg Bovino. Greg Bovino went to court yesterday. It was a bad day for Greg Bovino. I don't remember what his official role is. I think he's like the number 2 to old dog killer. I want to say Nikki Haley, Kristi Noem. He went to court yesterday, and it went so bad at court yesterday that court ended with the judge saying, "Listen, bitch, you have to wear body cams now every day." She asked, "Do you ever wear a body cam?" He's like, "Nah, I don't wear body cams." She's like, "Here's all these reports of innocent people being tackled, assaulted, pepper sprayed, and like if they're coming to court, you should have to be like all the other police. You have to wear body cams." So, because you are so bad at this, and because I have so many reports, and because these reports are so jarring, from now on, every day at 6 p.m., you will return and you will report to me. That's for my Mormon friends. Return and report if we got anybody here. You're going to come back here, and you're going to give me all your footage, and we're going to talk about it every fucking day. Now, on Saturday and Sunday, you're going to get the day off from coming to see me, but on Monday, we're going to have a longer meeting. Every Monday, we're going to go through Saturday's footage, we're going to go through Sunday's footage, and we're going to go through Monday's footage. And if you don't do this, you are in breach of court, and you can be arrested. So that's what happened in court. It went badly. And then this 5'2" Munchkin mafia daddy came out to the streets being booed wildly. It acted so like he's tiny, guys. You shouldn't be surprised that Greg Bovino's, I don't know his height. All I know is I've never seen a picture where it didn't look like he was surrounded by giants. Here he is. Yeah. Circle the dragons. It's so little. He came out with the raised fists while everybody was yelling "fuck you." Tells the boys, "Come on, boys." First of all, what were they doing? They just sat out there while court was happening. They just all took a break while their buddy went into court and got reprimanded. He barely has to duck to get in he's on his feet, barely has to duck getting in there. It's almost full size. Yeah, those signals, don't be confused by those signals. I do see some people on the left pointing to those signals, and they're saying that there's been some dumb people saying that they're like Nazi signals. They're not, those are just normal direction signals that you would give. I'm assuming this guy has some sort of military background. He's basically said this is saying like, all right, we're moving out and we're going this way. So he's just telling them we're going and we're going this way. I have seen some bad reporting from people on the left trying to make those hand signals into something that they're not. But those are pretty, from what I understand. Like I looked them up too. I'm not former military, but I didn't find a single source that says like any of those hand signals would be linked to anything other than like directions for military or law enforcement.
People really love it. of pussy. It's all theatrics. It's all theatrics for you, Bovino. It's all theatrics for you,
Yeah,
pussy.
that's what it was. Chipotle, this way. Chipotle. This means Chipotle because that shit just circles in your gut before it comes exploding out. And then he was pointing off to the side. Yeah, you might be right about that.
All theatrics for you and the Proud Boys. All fucking theatrics for you guys. Bovino and the Proud Boys. All theatrics.
Yeah, suck my dick, suck my dick. Sure you did, Harko Sparky. Sure you did, bud. You're not even good at like being an agitator. You're not very good at this. Sure you did though, bud. All right, moving on. Maria Bartiromo had on James Comer yesterday, or Jimmy Boy Comer. When I tell you that they must have dirt on dirt on dirt on Comer, this is just me like not wanting to have to accept that he's actually this stupid. This is going to be one of the dumbest interviews you've ever seen in your life, and one of the biggest wastes of time by our government that I could remember. Here's Maria Bartiromo with Comer, and Comer's going to tell you all the important stuff he's doing. Now, remember, he's supposed to be getting the Epstein files out. There's a lot of stuff Congress could be doing. Instead, he's just going to waste months of our time, hours of our time, and millions of dollars investigating something that we already know the conclusion of.
We don't know what went on with the January 6th investigation. You're saying now that pardon is null and void, or should be null and void. You also had massive policies that affected the American people. All that spending, $7 trillion.
So the reason they're saying these are null and void, the pardons, is because Joe Biden used an autopen. And they've brought people in. I've watched the testimony. It's really bizarre. Like, they'll ask these people, like, who did Joe Biden talk to about this particular pardon? They're like, I don't know. And they're like, oh, there's the evidence. Joe Biden didn't know what was going on. That's it. They'll just ask like one single person. Who do you know? Do you know who Joe Biden talked to about this? No, I don't. That's not really my role. Oh, okay. So Joe Biden didn't ask anybody. Doesn't matter if Joe Biden asked anybody, by the way. None of this matters a goddamn bit. But that's what they're trying to do right now, is they're trying to say that Joe Biden, it was a shadow government. Joe Biden didn't know what was going on. And because of that, they have just decided that everything, all the pardons that he issued are now null and void.
Dollars in spending, leading to 40-year high inflation, boys in girls sports, a wide open border. Some of these things will be hard to undo because it's already documented that we
also would be hard to undo boys and girls sports and a wide open border because one, they didn't happen, and two, they're not happening. That's the hardest part to undo, is imaginary things. Really hard to undo things that don't exist.
We've had 10 to 20 million people come in unvetted in this country, and they've committed serious crimes. But you're saying going forward, you will push for those documents and pardons to be null and void.
Absolutely, and the evidence that we've accumulated, and this is hours and hours and hours of deposition, hundreds and hundreds of pages of documents pertaining to emails and notes and things like that, I believe that's enough evidence to hold up in court. Whether it be the Supreme Court or any court in the land.
Yeah, except for, here's the problem. The courts can't override a pardon. Congress can't override a pardon. You don't even have to write down a pardon. You can speak a pardon. You don't have to sign a pardon. They say that because of Presidential Records Act, like, you should keep a record of it, which they have a record of it. But none of this matters. Joe Biden could have went on TV and said, I'm pardoning Hunter, and that's enough. That's all you need. There is no specific direction that says exactly how to pardon somebody. There's no direction that says you have to sign it. There's nothing that says you can't sign it with an autopen. The only way that these pardons could possibly be undone I would assume, either by constitutional amendment, which then you can't like retroactively use that amendment, or Joe Biden coming out and saying, I didn't know anything about that. Look, everybody knew who Joe Biden was going to pardon. Joe Biden talked about these people. You think Joe Biden didn't know that he was pardoning the people from the January 6th committee? You think he didn't know that he was pardoning Fauci? He's talked openly about it. You think he didn't know he was pardoning his own son? This is what these are the lengths that Republicans will go to so that they don't have to face their constituents and say, hey, we're covering up the Epstein files for Trump. And I do think what they're doing with this, by the way, is I think they're going through the files and I think they're redacting people. And I also think that Trump is using those files as leverage. We're going to find out, I think, a lot of things. You know, all these investments that are coming in, specifically for the ballroom. You know that there's not like a contractor anywhere that has looked at the specs of that ballroom and said, yeah, 300 million. Yeah, 250 million. They are way off. Like they're triple, quadruple what most people think that ballroom should cost. This is just a guess. This is conspiracy. But my guess is that they're going through and they're now shaking down everybody that's on that list. And if you pay Trump off, they're going to redact that name. And Comer is just a useful idiot, a pawn. Maybe he's a willing participant. I don't know. I don't think he's terribly bright. So it wouldn't be crazy, I think, if he didn't know any of this. If he really thought all this was a useful, or if this was a useful activity for Congress. I don't really know, but it's nonsense. I know that.
The evidence is there that there was a cover-up and that there was unauthorized use of the autopen. That is a huge scandal. I would argue the biggest scandal in American history. And now the damage, some of the damage with respect to holding some of these people
biggest in American history. Joe Biden used an autopen. What could be worse?
Accountable. I mean, the president never even gave us.
We also don't know which ones he used the auto. They still haven't told us why they assume these were autopen. I don't even know the evidence of that. They haven't released it. They're still just saying that. No evidence.
Statement or an interview as to why he pardoned the entire January 6th committee, or why he pardoned Dr. Fauci, or why.
We all know why he pardoned them, because you guys were going to go after them endlessly, and we already know that you don't care about evidence. Comer then went on with Tapper, and Tapper asked him another question. This guy's so worried about Joe Biden and his family and corruption, but not worried about this administration. Fair question here by Tapper.
There's a Reuters report today on the Trump family's crypto ventures. Based on the family's own financial disclosures, Reuters found the Trump organization's income from the first half of this year shot from $51 million to $864 million. About $800 million of that is from crypto. And the story details how most of the buyers are foreign investors and how all this money is going to belong to Trump when he leaves office. Is this something that you're going to look into at all?
Well, it's something that we are, like you, reading about this. We're trying to digest it. The difference between the way the Trump family is operating and the Biden family is they're admitting they're doing this. The president.
If somebody admits that they did a crime, do you just let them go? Is that how this works? Yeah, you didn't have evidence for Biden. Yes, Biden didn't admit that he was doing it. You also didn't prove it. You're saying that he's confessing, and you're not. Well, I'm not going to do anything about it because he's confessing. What are we doing here, Republicans? What is it? That's his real answer. This is an AI. This is a real answer. Well, the difference is he knows we won't do a goddamn thing. So he just does it openly, and we're all afraid of him, and so we're not going to do anything. So even though I'm admitting to you that this is blatant corruption and that it is illegal, I gotta keep worrying about Joe Biden's autopen. Okay, it's very important that we figure out Joe Biden's autopen. Have they looked into, did Trump sign individually all of those 1,600 pardons? Their other argument is that Trump that Biden didn't know the stories behind these people that were pardoned. Did Trump know all these people he was pardoning? Did he know the criminal record? What about all these people who have reoffended? Trump knew all 1,600? This is reality of where we're at right now. Real corruption happening, close your eyes. Corruption you have no evidence for, we're going to investigate it forever.
Campaigned as a business guy. I'm not defending the policy. I think there need to be ethics reforms, and I had a bill that Jamie Raskin killed last session because he thought that Kamala Harris was going to win the presidency, but it would have increased the disclosure. So as long as you disclose your income and disclose the sources, I think that's acceptable. If you lie about the income, you say, I never.
If you take foreign bribes, just admit it. It's fine. If you take $2 billion from the Qataris for your son-in-law, just tell us about it. If you take $2 billion from the UAE, just tell us about it. It's fine. It's okay if you make hundreds of millions of dollars off of each of these deals because you disclose it. By the way, Trump didn't even disclose these things. These have all come out in the media. It's not like Trump released like a disclosure and then the media is like, oh, look at this line item that Trump put out there. He hasn't disclosed any of this stuff. This has all been through investigative reporting. He's not out here admitting this stuff.
Receive money from China and then we subpoena your bank records and there's $5 million from China. I think that's a problem. So, I think it's a legitimate question. A lot of people are concerned, especially since the crypto industry isn't regulated. But if my position now, as long as the president's disclosing this and they're filling out disclosures and they're answering questions, he answers questions about it. If you ask him about his crypto, he'll say, yes, they've got the best crypto country in the world.
That's not answering the question. If you ask him about these deals, he goes, it's the best crypto country in the world. That's not an answer to I guess it's an answer. It doesn't answer the question though, right? Like we're not definitive. I don't see, by the way, I don't know if, I'm not getting a lot of notifications from YouTube in here. Just a reminder, we are, again, before, I've got a couple more stories, then I'm going to bring up Athena. But we are crowdfunded, and I don't want to interrupt Athena during what we're talking about because it'll feel really weird for me. So if you guys could help us knock out that gift goal while she's up here, I'll read any of the. If you have questions for Athena, I'll read those. If the super chats or donations aren't about the topic, I'll just wait till Athena's done. And I'll read those. But if you guys could help us out, again, in like 5 to 10 minutes, we'll be bringing up Athena and we'll get there. All right, on to the next here. I'm just going to play a couple Trump clips and then we're going to go. Trump was in Korea. We showed him walking aimlessly around. I think that was in Japan maybe. And then we had for some reason, like a campaign rally. Because every time Trump gets a microphone, he just goes into campaign rally mode. I assume it's because they can't teach him new things. These are just things that he's memorized, and they know that he can't speak about anything other than the good old days on the campaign trail. And just imagine being one of these countries, Korea.
Thanks for the sub.
In this example, imagine being these reporters, and Trump's coming over to negotiate trade deals, and then he spends an hour at the microphone just doing a campaign speech. That'd be cool.
Years ago, I mean, if you look, 100% of all new jobs created in America under my administration have been created by the private sector. Think of that.
Oh.
The government created no new jobs. The private sector created the record number of jobs that we're talking about. That's a country. That's really a success. It's easy to create government jobs. I could say, add a lot of people to your payrolls. I can fake up the numbers.
Athena, Covey. A lot of people are asking who Athena is. It's also Covey. So if you see Covey on TikTok, just gone by different names.
If I want, but that's not the way you build a great country. You don't do that here, and that's not the way. But it's a good way to show good numbers, I'll tell you. You just tell everybody, hire a lot of people. That's what they used to do under the Biden administration, under Barack Hussein Obama. You had, they'd say, hire a lot of people so we can make our numbers.
How is this something that he needs to say? By the way, it's not going well. Like, yeah, your government hasn't created new jobs, but your economy's bleeding. This is as of today. UPS has laid off 48,000 employees. Amazon's about to lay off 30,000 employees. Intel, 24,000. Nestle, 16,000. Accenture, 11,000. Ford, 11,000. Novo Nordisk, 9,000. Microsoft, 7,000. PwC, 5,600. Salesforce, 4,000. Paramount 2,000, Target 1,800, Kroger 1,000, Applied Materials 1,400, Meta 600. We're bleeding jobs. Yeah, you're not hiring anybody for the government, but also our economy is collapsing and people are losing jobs. And the plan for this, which I'm still waiting for a Republican to explain this to me, the plan for all of this is to build out an AI infrastructure that will take everybody's jobs. Like half these jobs, programming jobs, jobs in the medical field, early screening jobs. That's the plan. Can somebody explain this fucking plan to me? Or do we have any Republicans here? Can you explain what this is? We have to bleed jobs now so that we can have AI, which will bleed jobs. Yeah, you're right. Total job creation is damn near negative. This has made me laugh. Here's I think Trump might be calling Xi daddy here. You guys let me know.
You're fighting with India.
Excuse me, Modi, not Xi. Sorry.
You're fighting with India. And, you know, 2 nuclear nations. And they said, no, you should let us fight. They both said that. You know, they're warring. They're strong people, I'll tell you what. Prime Minister Modi is the nicest looking guy. He says, and he looks like you'd like to have your father, like, he's a killer. He's tough as hell. No, we will fight.
Don't do impressions. Don't do impressions, please.
I said, whoa, this is the same man that I know. But after a little while, and they're good people, and after literally 2 days, they called up and they said, we understand, and they stopped fighting. How is that? Isn't that amazing? Now, you think Biden would have done that? I don't think so.
All right. So after he calls Modi daddy, then he floats this. This is beautiful. Trump, I've always assumed that the reason Trump likes Kim Jong-un is because he wants to be Kim Jong-un. The reason that he likes Putin is because he wants to be Putin. The reason that he wants to be Xi is the reason he likes Xi is because he wants to be Xi. And here he is. He's just going to explain it now. He's setting the stage now that what we need to do in America is lie to the American people and lie to the world all the time. And we'll just have a completely artificial economy. Listen to what he wants to happen.
We're going to go back to the way it used to be. When we announce good news, the stock markets are going to go up. And that's the way it should be. And we're going to really ride that very hard. And when we announce good news, we're not going to have a Fed that's going to raise interest rates because they're worried about inflation in 3 years from now or something. When we announce
my words will move the markets and we'll have low interest rates because I said so.
Good news, we want the stock market to go up, not to go down. And we're going to go back to the way it used to be.
Last thing. Then he says this. He's talking to other countries right now. This is why nobody respects him. This is why he's going on these world tours begging for deals, trade deals, and getting demolished in every single one of them.
Jerome Too Late Powell, but he's out of there in another couple of months. We'll be very happy about that. We'll appoint somebody that we all like because we should have the lowest interest rates of any country because without us, there are no other countries, really. I mean, the whole thing falls apart. Jerome.
I think that's a good segue into what we're going to talk about. Donald Trump is remarkably stupid, but he's also remarkably arrogant. And he believes that he is the king of the world. And he believes that whatever he says should get done. And he just wants everything to be good all the time. So when things aren't good, instead of like trying to fix a problem, instead of like trying to figure out what's going on with global trade, why we're bleeding jobs, why we have housing inaffordability, why nobody can afford medical insurance. Instead of doing any of that, he's like, what if we just like whatever I said, you all agreed was happening? What if we just did that? And what about you, the rest of the world? What if you just acknowledged that it's our way or the highway because you don't exist without any of us? Try that. Do we have Athena, Jen? I see a Burned Out Medic said ICE is where all the mall cops went to. Thank you, Alyssa. I appreciate that. Let me check comments. And then, Jen, if you let me know when we've got Athena. Oops.
Hello?
Hey, you're here. Let me check one more.
Yes.
Let me check one more thing real quick, and then we'll get going.
Okay, period.
Thanks. Ainsley, thank you. I said thanks for all you do. All right, let me preface this. So, Athena, was it yesterday that you reached out to me? Maybe the day before? I don't remember.
Yes. I think it was yesterday.
Okay. This happens regularly where I have a blind spot, and about once every couple of months, I'll get a message from Athena, and that just means that I'm missing something. And so the message yesterday was essentially, are you covering what's happened in Sudan? Can you cover what's happening in Sudan? And I basically said, I don't know enough about it. Let me read into it. I read into it, and what I read was mostly wrong. So I'm just going to give you the floor. I don't know if you want to give us like a basic outline of how this kicked off, and then we'll go from there, and we'll go down what we covered in the chat. Does that work for you?
Yeah, sure.
All right. So the conflict that's happening in Sudan is with who? It's with the Sudanese people and who?
Yeah.
So really quick, you want to put that back on I sent?
Yep. Thank you, Jen. Go ahead, Athena. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah. So there is a very common misconception when it comes to the Sudanese genocide. I would just refer to it as a genocide and not a conflict. People just assume that it's a civil war. Can you guys hear me okay, by the way?
You sound great. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So people assume that it's a civil war when it isn't, right? So the common misconception is there are two generals. One of them is General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, who is the de facto leader of Sudan, and he's the head of the Sudanese armed forces. I'm going to be just saying the SAF. So whenever I say the SAF, I mean the Sudanese military. And people think that this is just a civil war between him and General Mohammed Hamdan Hameti Dagalo, who is the leader of the Rapid Support Forces, which is a paramilitary group, basically, right? So the truth, though, is the RSF is just the UAE. It's not an independent entity. It did emerge originally from these militias in the Darfur region who were more pan-Arab in a non-Arabized region that were ethnically cleansing, that were genociding people, especially in the Darfur region, right?
What is pan-Arab? What does that mean?
Pan-Arabism. So pan-Arabism, it changes depending on who you're talking to. So initially, pan-Arabism was kind of like a nationalistic cultural ideology that advocated for a unity of all Arab countries and people. It kind of like was birthed or originated when the Ottoman Empire was in decline to combat all forms of imperialism and colonialism. So they were combating the Ottoman Empire and also combating Western colonialism and tried to kind of unite the Arab world across West Asia and North Africa into this single nation state, or kind of like a European Union, basically.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Okay.
Exactly, right? So initially it did emerge to kind of oppose colonial and Western influence and also Ottoman influence to empower a lot of Arab nations. Unfortunately, though, this meant that a lot of non-Arabized people, or people who are not Arabs, because the Middle East is and North Africa in general, the MENA region are very, very diverse. There are so many different ethnicities there, people who are not Arabized, people who are, like, you have Kurdish people, you have Chaldeans, you have Assyrians, you have so many different groups of people, right? And so a lot of those groups of people felt maybe oppressed, they felt maybe erased by the ideology. There were also instances of them getting unalive, right? Like killed or oppressed, right? So initially it did start off really good. It had a lot of, it was unable to deliver more lasting prosperity and unity, and kind of now can be a bit harmful. Okay. So the reason as to why a pan-Arab group in the Darfur region is just fundamentally destructive is because the Darfur region is full of non-Arabized groups of people.
And the Darfur region specifically would be, I'll pull up a map, but where?
Sudan.
What's that?
It's in Western Sudan. It's a state.
Okay. Got it pulled up on the map.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
So Darfur would be the state which is in Western Sudan that borders Chad.
Gotcha.
Exactly. So the Darfur region was just full of non-Arabized people. So sending a pan-Arab group to the Darfur region was a complete disaster, right? So, and the Janjaweed basically means jinn on a horse or a demon on a horse. The reason as to why they were called demons on horses is because they used to show up there on horseback and just annihilate people. And sometimes when they used to annihilate whole groups of people and those people would flee into Chad, they would go into Chad after them and kill them, right? I've talked to genocide survivors who had fled to Chad, and then they saw the Janjaweed attack their families again in Chad, right? So These people were genuinely horrific. There were multiple genocides, one in 2003 as well. But these people, like, they have caused a lot of havoc. And the crazy thing is that
Can I ask
their
you
origin.
A question real quick. When they go into Chad, when they're following the people into Chad, I just assume then Chad obviously doesn't have a very secure border. They do they not have the ability to fight back? Are they okay with this? Is everybody just kind of looking the other way?
So you have to understand, these borders are massive. Like, the piece of land is legitimately massive. Like, it's just massive swaths of desert.
Right.
So it's going to be very, very hard to completely secure the borders, because people don't understand how big Africa is. Like, the Horn of Africa on its own is as huge as the Middle East, right?
Yeah.
So this is just unthinkably, like, huge, right? And at the same time as well, there were some factions in Chad that did kind of low-key support the Janjaweed as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if they just looked kind of like the other way, because Chad is also one of the countries that is supporting the RSF currently. And the Janjaweed kind of grew out of a group in the 1980s called Tajammu' al-Arabi, which means the Arab Gathering. Now, this was a group whose foundations was kind of supported by Gaddafi, Muammar Gaddafi in Libya.
Gotcha.
This was another pan-Arab group, which was again sent to Darfur. A lot of the foundational people who created this group were mercenaries who worked with Gaddafi, people who were in Gaddafi's armed guards. And they kind of created this group. So they have been causing havoc from the 1980s, but every single time they'd kind of like switch up their name. They went from Tajammu' al-Arabi to the Janjaweed, and then when they went from the Janjaweed to now the Rapid Support Forces, or the RSF. Now, the RSF is deeply intertwined with the UAE. Now, this is why I say it's an invasion, right? Because in 2019, Sudan had a revolution. The people in Sudan were sick and tired of their president or dictator, Omar Bashir. This man had been leading the country for almost 30 years. They just were sick and tired of the fact that the unemployment rates were high. They had no freedom. They basically just wanted to get rid of this dictator, because the rising costs of basic goods was just way too high for Sudanese people to afford, and the government's austerity measures as well, they didn't kind of agree with, especially when it came to the government ending subsidies on fuel and wheat, right? So they initially started with protesting against the rising costs, to then expanding their demands to kind of talk about also democratic governance. They wanted a civilian-led government. They wanted the people to also lead themselves. They were sick and tired of Omar Bashir. This man was a dictator who also kind of led the country through a genocide, especially multiple genocides, especially in the Darfur region, right? So protesters were just unhappy with him. And then there was a military coup between these two leaders, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan and Hameti, I'll just call him Hameti, who was the leader of the RSF, and they kind of got rid of him. Now, initially, the hope was that there would be a transition into a civilian-led government, but the problem is Hameti wanted more power, of course, and Burhan wanted to kind of consolidate the power so it can be led by the Sudanese military, so to say. And Hameti.
A question at this point, the RSF, which you've mentioned, and that stands for what is again?
The Rapid Support Forces.
Rapid Support Force. At this point, now this, I'm sure you'll get to this, but like this is the group that is led by Eric Prince, which is Betsy DeVos's brother. He ran Blackwater. He has fled to the UAE, where he's now a citizen. Although I think he still has a residence in Tennessee. At this point, is Eric Prince involved? Is this one of
the UAE was already involved. So Eric Prince doesn't lead them. What he does instead is he trains UAE elite forces, and those forces train the RSF. So he's kind of like indirectly helping them. That's what Eric Prince does. And if you read all of this, like if you read into what's happening in Sudan, the UAE is very smart in that they have done everything indirectly, so people do not know that it is that this is an active invasion, right? So Eric Prince actively kind of trains the some elite UAE forces, including the Presidential Guard. And then that Presidential Guard and those elite forces have ties to the RSF. So he's practically indirectly training and building the RSF.
Gotcha.
That's what Eric Prince does. And after Omar Bashir is toppled in 2019, there was a struggle because the RSF continued wanting more power. Now the RSF became this powerful because they came under the they have some gold mines under their control, specifically the leader of the RSF, Hemeti. And the reason as to why he has these gold mines is, of course, Omar Bashir helped him embed himself practically into the country because he wanted to stay in power, as all dictators do. They would do everything to stay in power, right?
So those were given to them by the dictator? They basically said, like, it was that kind of a quid pro quo?
Over time, yeah, they took control over huge swaths of land with the gold mines, yes.
Okay.
Especially his family, over time, they took control over a lot of the gold mines. And so at this point, they were way too deeply embedded in Sudanese society in order for them to just be dismantled. They had way too much money, they had way too much power. And what Burhan tried to practically do is he tried to incorporate them into the Sudanese military to, in a way, kind of put them under some type of chain of command and neutralize them because he wanted to prevent whatever is happening now from breaking out.
Gotcha.
And that didn't work because Hemeti still wanted more power. And that's what happened in April 2023 when a full-blown war broke out and you had airstrikes happening everywhere, drone strikes happening everywhere. And interestingly, 2 weeks before the war broke out in April of 2023, Hemeti spent a lot of time in the UAE. So this man the leader of the RSF spent a lot of time in the UAE before the war broke out, right?
Right.
And not only does Hemeti spend a lot of time in the UAE, his main Facebook page through which he releases his statements and videos is managed from the UAE. Like the location of his Facebook page is literally in the UAE. And not only that, the RSF has a bank account under their name in the First Abu Dhabi Bank in the UAE. These people are so heavily funded by the UAE that even their undergarments comes from the UAE. This is just the UAE, right? This is why this isn't a group whose interests align with the UAE. No, these people are literally doing exactly what the UAE wants them to do. They this month alone, in October of 2025, there have been 57 cargo shipments from the UAE to the RSF in October alone. The month hasn't even ended yet, and they've already sent them 57 cargo ships. I mean, I sent you the table of the list of all the cargo shipments, RTP.
Yeah.
Earlier, right? So the UAE is literally funding them to like the teeth, like up to the teeth. Like everything is from the UAE. Their cars is funded by the UAE. Their weapons, their clothing, their uniforms, their undergarments, everything is managed by the UAE. Right?
This is what we're talking about here. This is the shipments. This is the list. Okay, gotcha.
Exactly. If you can zoom in a bit, if that's possible, you can see that all these shipments are in the month of October alone. So this doesn't even take into account any of the shipments that happened prior to October the 1st. So in this month alone, they sent them 57 cargo planes worth of shipments, right? So what has happened? April 2023, This war breaks out. Initially, people thought it was a war between just two generals who were trying to consolidate power. And that's what people think up until now. This is just a civil war. This is just a war between these two generals who are power hungry. Both of them want leadership. But that's not the case. Because Hemeti doesn't only want to consolidate power, he practically wants to chip away at Sudan and create his own country.
So
which is why
so UAE wants to do that. We talked about this before. UAE's interest in Sudan is gold. I think you mentioned a port too, or a strait as well. This is a financial interest? This isn't. It's not like we have in Israel and Palestine. Is there a religious component here, or is this all resources?
So there is no religious component. There are three reasons as to why. If you could bring up the photo for the Bab el-Mandeb Strait that I sent you. Hold on, where was that? So that people can have a visual, right? Because a lot of people do not know this strait, but economically, it is incredibly important.
Got it.
I think. Hold on, let me tag it so you can find it.
I've got it. It's up on the screen now.
There we go. Exactly. So the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, right, is that little teeny tiny choke point that you see right there that is controlled by three countries, Yemen, Eritrea, and Djibouti. Now this teeny tiny strait, the choke point, connects the Red Sea to the Gulf of Aden and to the Indian Ocean, which means it links Europe and Asia via the Suez Canal, and it is an incredibly important vital route for global shipping. About 14% of global maritime trade by volume transits through the Red Sea every year, including about 30% of the world's containerized trade, right? So this is one of the top 10, if not top 5 important transit routes for global trade and economy.
And what's shipping out of this? Like, what are some things that are really important to? Because
oil.
Oil. Okay.
Like 6 million barrels per day of oil transit through the Bab el-Mandeb Strait.
Okay. What about gold? Gold going through there too?
Gold goes through, gold goes through elsewhere. But so it's just a huge. This is the reason as to why, I don't know if you remember this, when the Houthis started hijacking the ships in the Red Sea, when all these other, like Canada, America, the UK, Australia, all these different countries created a coalition and started bombing Yemen because of how important this particular route is. If you control the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, you can control the Red Sea, and then you can control the Suez Canal at the end, right? So approximately 10 to 12% of the global maritime trade, around 6 million barrels per day of oil transit through the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. And this is only the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. If you take the Indian Ocean serves as like a maritime basin encompassing key sea lanes that facilitate over 80% of global maritime trade by volume.
How much? You said
So
80%, you said?
80% exactly of global maritime trade by volume, right? So this is when it comes to bulk commodities, when it comes to oil, when it comes to containerized cargo as well. So this whole region, whether it is the Suez Canal, the Red Sea, the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, the Gulf of Aden, and the Indian Ocean, are incredibly important for global trade and the global economy, right? So if you have control over them, it's incredibly important, right? So there are 3 reasons as to why the UAE is doing this. Number 1, they want gold. 97% of Sudan's gold goes to the UAE. 97%.
Do you know what they're doing with their gold? I know China is building up. Like, China's heavily invested in gold because they're trying to build like a reserve currency, and they're using it for aid in Africa, and they're allowing people to take like their currency and trade it for, I think it's the yuan, but it's backed by gold. So if they want to get out of that currency, they have gold, which obviously gives them wealth. Is there a reason UAE would also be focused on gold right now?
Yeah,
You know?
so the reason that's why it's focused on gold is because Dubai is one of the world's largest gold trading and refining hubs. So, not only are they able to sustain like their economic ties, but they're also able to use it to finance the import of fuel and wheat. You have to understand Dubai, like United Arab Emirates, is practically like a desert, right? They don't really have that many farmland. So they actively use the gold that they get, revenues from the Sudanese gold, to finance imports for wheat. They get the gold to kind of help them in when it comes to gold trading, when it comes to refining as well, and then re-exporting it globally. Because they have built this extensive gold trade network because of the gold that they get from Sudan. Over 97% of Sudan's exported gold literally goes to the UAE. And the thing is, it's not only gold that is being taken from Sudan. In 2023 alone, $12.8 million worth of copper, $31.3 million of oily seeds, $28 million worth of livestock, $14.2 million of crops, $1.96 million of lead, and vegetable. Like, they're literally taking everything. They take mineral fuels, plastics, vegetables, copper, sheep, goat meat, livestock, like other livestock. All these things they're taking from Sudan, right? They're taking so much from Sudan that the UAE economy has, since 2023, interestingly, which is when the genocide started, has seen a consistent growth, GDP growth, of about 3.6% in 2023, 3.9% in 2024, and is projected to grow by 4 to 4.8% in 2025.
Jesus.
So their economy is flourishing, right? Their economy is flourishing. They're benefiting off of it. Why are they benefiting off of it? Because they're genociding Sudanese people. That's literally why they're benefiting off of it. So the three reasons as to why they're doing this is, number one, gold, right?
Right.
Number two, they want to destabilize all of East Africa. And they're doing it, in my opinion, is because their Western allies want them to do it. And number three, they want access to the Red Sea.
This makes sense. Let me ask you a question then, because that part actually kind of tracks for a story we were covering last week, where the Chinese, one of their plans is they want the price of gold obviously to go up, because that when they offer aid to these African nations, it gives them the opportunity to trade in gold. But there's obviously a struggle right now between the West and China and Russia to get control of Africa, or at least have shipping lanes and resources. I know there's other parts in Africa that are really important for AI generation. When I look at this, I say, like, the UAE, they're part of the Abraham Accords. The Abraham Accords were never a peace deal. I connect, obviously, Eric Prince. I connect the amount of developments that are happening from not only Trump, but Elon Musk is building like a university, I think, in Dubai. And then all the way back to Israel and the United States relationship with them. It appears to me that what we're seeing here is the United States casually standing by, dark funding this, but also not doing anything about it, because they realize that the withdrawal from USAID, which we used to use in Africa as leverage, we've now pulled, and now we're saying we're just going to do it by force instead. Is that a fair, like, bird's eye view of the United States involvement here?
Speaking of the USAID, when the USAID was shut down or paused, it led to the shutdown of over 80% of food kitchens in Sudan. That's something that a lot of people don't talk about. Over 80% of the community or communal or food kitchens in Sudan were actually dependent on on USAID. And so it being shut down actively worsened the more than 10 famines that have been declared in Sudan. And second of all, America is doing it's actually not even like funding it on like the down low. In May of this year alone, the State Department authorized about $1.4 billion worth of weapon sales to the UAE before Trump visited, right? And not only that, they also have like multiple military cooperations between America and the UAE, which I think it's up to like $29.3 billion when it comes to active government-to-government like foreign military sales, specifically with the UAE.
For my audience is going to remember this story covered from a different angle, but this was the deal that was made with the UAE, where the exchange is we would sell them weapons and they would invest in Trump's cryptocurrency. Like the very last video that we brought up before this was the sale that was linked to the donation to Trump's cryptocurrency, or not donation, investment.
Yeah, exactly. So you have to understand everything that in military sales, that weaponry that you give to the UAE is going directly to the RSF. And the governments are very well aware of this. Anthony Blinken literally said that the RSF in the beginning of last year is committing a genocide, right? So the American government very much is well aware of what the RSF is doing. The links between the UAE and the RSF are not hidden. There have been American-made weapons that were found being used by the RSF. Chinese, Russian, and British weapons have also been found being used by the RSF. So it's not only the US that is actively kind of giving military aid to the UAE, but China, Russia, and the UK. The UK actually was accused of this just yesterday. There was a United Nations Security Council just yesterday, and the UK was accused of selling weapons to the UAE, which landed in the RSF's hands.
Do you get the impression that the UAE is kind of just playing middleman and playing both sides? Because obviously, like, it's a very strange thing. We're always told China and Russia, that's the enemy. We look at the economies that battle. Generally speaking, the United States isn't going to be necessarily involved in a deal like this. Is this just the UAE playing both sides and basically saying one of you is going to win, so we want to be with the winner? Is this like a fence-sitting position, or what is this?
No, actually not. So this is why I think more people need to pay attention to East African politics. Because when it comes to East African politics, the alliances will always confuse you, because this isn't the first time that all of these countries have been on the same side. Just like there was the Eritrean genocide, right? The Eritrean genocide lasted from 1961 up until 1991. It was a genocide and also the armed struggle for independence from Ethiopia. And Ethiopia was being funded by, hold your horses, I have the list here, because it was a very shocking list to me, because especially during the Cold War, you would assume that all these countries hated each other. So these were all countries that funded, diplomatically supported, and or trained Ethiopian military forces during the Eritrean armed struggle and genocide. America, the Soviet Union, China, Israel, British Empire, East and West Germany, Cuba, the African Union, Italy, France, Nordic countries, Czechoslovakia, Poland, Bulgaria, Romania, Yugoslavia, North Korea, Iraq, Syria, India, South Yemen, and Vietnam. So all of these countries that are on complete opposing sides when it comes to Cold War politics, for some reason united when it came to which side to fund. And the reason, again, in that case as well, was the Red Sea. So when it comes to the economy, when it comes to money, for some reason, a lot of these countries that are opposing sides tend to be on the same page because they want to continue protecting global trade, right?
So why the UAE? Why the UAE is like this, whatever we want to call them? Like, why are they so central to this? Why would, I mean, I've lived in America long enough to know, like, we don't really have a lot of reservations about invading other countries. Why play this game? where the UAE has all this control?
I think it's the same reason as to why the U.S. plays this game when it comes to Israel too. The U.S. cannot actively invade everybody. That's just logistically impossible.
Not with that attitude.
You no, but it's just logistically impossible. You need to also have some type of plausible deniability because, again, soft power is incredibly important, the same way that hard power is important. And if you have the friend of a friend of a friend of a friend doing something for you, you have some form of some sort of plausible deniability, right? And number two, you sometimes don't even have enough manpower to be doing all of this. You don't have enough manpower to be just going around invading everyone. So what you're going to do is you're going to have anchor states. You're going to have vessels everywhere. You're going to have people who are willing to continue working towards your interests. And you're going to ally up with them. And the UAE is perfect, right? Because the UAE is rich. It is in the area, like Israel. Both of these countries are anchor states of the West. And the UAE has major investors. It has a lot of people with a lot of money and a lot of companies. Now, because the UAE is not only funding the RSF, by the way, it also has multiple companies like the ADQ, like Al-Dahra, like Blue Carbon, that at the same time are buying land in Africa. Right, so Blue Carbon alone, which is a relatively new company in the UAE.
You said it was Blue Carbon.
Blue Carbon, yeah. This company literally bought like land that is the size of the UK in multiple African countries, in Kenya, Zambia, Zimbabwe. This company bought 20% of Zimbabwe's agricultural land under the guise of they're just trying to protect the forests, right?
Is that this offset, the carbon offset projects? Is that what this
exactly,
is? Okay.
Exactly, for carbon credit and conservation projects, right? So it controls nearly 10% of Liberia's land, which is approximately 2.5 million acres. It controls about 20% of Zimbabwe's land, 10% of Zambia's land, Tanzania. And this is just one company, by the way, Blue Carbon. Then you have another company, which is an agribusiness called Al-Dahra, that operates large-scale farms in, you guessed it, Sudan. So the RSF is not only protecting the gold reserves there, but it's also protecting farmland. As I mentioned before, UAE is literally a desert country. So what they do is they're dependent on other countries to for their wheat, for their livestock. And so they have these companies like Al-Dahra, for example, that go and operate large-scale farms in Kenya, in Egypt, in Sudan, that involves tens to hundreds of thousands of hectares. They have about over 400,000 hectares of farmland in Sudan and Egypt.
Hectare? I don't know what that is. What's a hectare?
Oh dear.
Sorry, you're way above my knowledge. I could look it up. I just thought, I don't know. I could look it up.
Yeah.
I know a hectare, but I don't think that's who we're talking about.
Oh Lord, no. So, try to see. That's about 988,422 acres.
Okay, so it's a unit of measurement. Okay, gotcha.
The size of Rhode Island.
Jesus. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
There we are.
So they like this one company, by the way, not the UAE. It's just this one company has farmland the size of Rhode Island in Egypt and Sudan alone. So it also has land like elsewhere as well, right?
Gotcha.
So, hold on. So like the UAE is doing this again as like an anchor state, the same way like Israel is doing the same thing in the Levant. So Israel is tasked with this destabilizing the whole Levant. The UAE is tasked was practically destabilizing like a lot of African countries. And currently it's focusing on destabilizing East Africa, because it's also doing this in a country called Somalia, where it's trying to actively trigger a civil war between a regional government, which is called Puntland, and its federal government, right? So it's actively engaging in business relations and military relations with its a regional government against the consent of the federal government. That would be like, imagine if Russia came in and decided to have like individual business and military cooperations with like Texas.
Right.
And the federal government doesn't want to agree to that, and Texas is like, fuck off, I can do whatever the fuck I want.
Sounds like Texas.
And exactly, sounds like Texas. That would escalate tensions possibly, right?
Right.
If the federal government and the regional government continue butting heads, and you have an outside interference escalating these tensions, it could potentially lead to something ugly. And that's exactly what it's doing in Somalia as well. And that is trying to cause a civil war in Somalia while arming and training a new militia group that is very similar to the RSF that would be focused only on Somalia, though. So I believe that what they're trying to do is they're trying to do this with every country in East Africa. What they're doing to Sudan, they'll try to do with every country in East Africa. And if you look at the
can I ask you a question real quick about that? Because I like, as you're saying this, I'm this all rings very true. This is exactly what Russia's been doing in the former USSR. It's what they did in Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
They went into the Donbass. Then they created like these little mercenary armies. I guess the question that I have here is, why would any of them trust that after all of this, the United States isn't just going to fuck them over? Like, why does the UAE think that they're going to do all this work and that they're going to be left with the spoils? Doesn't history teach us that the United States is going to fuck them over at some point?
They're too much of a valuable ally for now. That's why.
So,
I mean,
like, for now, yeah.
Yeah, if you look at the Gulf countries, though, they have been a valuable ally. Like when you see the U.S. invading different countries, it doesn't do that to the Gulf countries.
True.
The Gulf countries are relatively like protected when it comes to like even Arab phobia and Islamophobia, right? It's usually countries in the Levant, countries like Iraq, Afghanistan, North African countries that bear the brunt of when it comes to rising Islamophobia and Arab phobia and Western invasions, whereas the Gulf countries are just way too valuable. And they're also like puppet states, so they're very valuable. They work very well with the West. And the last time that a king within like the Gulf countries tried to do something about it, which was in the 1970s, King Faisal of Saudi Arabia, where he implemented an oil embargo against the U.S., I think, or was it against like the West in general, that tanked the global economy. He got assassinated. I don't know if you knew this, but the king of Saudi Arabia got assassinated, King Faisal, right? So they just act accordingly. They kind of do what is expected of them, and they benefit off of it. They're building their countries. Their countries are very wealthy. Their people are very comfortable. If you go to the Gulf countries, the people there are very comfortable. They get a lot of benefits from the companies. I'm talking about like the people who live there, not the foreign workers, right? Yeah. Not the migrant workers. So they don't complain that much, right?
That makes sense.
And the UAE is a very valuable asset, right? Not only is it funding genocides, its companies are all, and what it does is it doesn't have like state-owned companies. What instead it does is it kind of sends its like members of the royal family. A member of the royal family would start like this front company, and then they would just get loans from the government, and then they would buy land. And that's what it's doing. Like, for example, when we look at the company Blue Carbon, it was started by a royal from the Dalmouk family, and it has plausible deniability because it could say, oh, this is not a state-run company, right? But it is because he's a royal and he's getting loans from the government. And another
When
thing
they, real quick, the people in like, for example, like in Dubai, are they all working? When you say it's obviously they have like slave labor there, but what is the industry? How do these people have how does everybody have so much money? You look at the royal families, and they have it doesn't even make sense. They have so much wealth it doesn't make sense. I've always wondered how everybody in Dubai has all this money. Is it something like the government gives some sort of basic income? How is it that everybody has so much money there?
So I wouldn't say everybody has so much money. Like, of course, like the normal people, normal citizens are not going to be like hella rich, right? They are comfortable. That's true. And by comfortable, I mean they have they have very low living costs, right? Their wages are going to be a bit higher. Money they spend on everything is going to be a bit on the lower side, because a lot of the things there are going to be like subsidized by the government. The families, though, the reason as to why the royal family has a lot of money is because of the enormous oil and gas reserves, right? So they have a lot of oil and gas.
Real quick, Erica says that housing in the UAE is tied to your job, so your work pays for your housing. I don't know if that's true. That's what Erica's saying.
That's if you're like a migrant worker, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So if you're a migrant worker, you're gonna get like a sponsor. There is that's something else though, because there's a thing called the kafala system, which means every migrant worker needs a sponsor who's a person from the Emirates, and then that person controls like your visa. They control work permit, they control your passport, if you're allowed to leave or not to leave. So it's basically kind of like modern slavery, depending on who you are, right? If you're from like an African country or from a South Asian country, you're practically a modern slave under the kafala system, because it's your sponsor who controls you. But also, if you look at the number of people who live there, only like 12% of the population are from the Emirates, by the way. I don't know if you knew this.
No.
But in the Emirates, only like 12% of the population. Hold on, let me see actually how it is.
I can pull it up while you keep going. I'll pull it up.
Yeah. So when it comes to the Emirates,
it says, yeah.
How much?
11 to 12%.
Exactly. So 11 to 12% of the population are native Emiratis. Everybody else is a migrant worker. So the population is tiny, right? And so like I think like 1.3 million to 1.5 million are going to be Emirati, and then everybody else is going to be an expat worker, right?
Yeah.
And so this is precisely how also they continue getting so rich, right? They continue making money off of Sudanese blood, which initially, by the way, the craziest thing is that they gained independence from the British in the 1970s, I think, right? So the UAE is a relatively young country. And when it gained independence, it was Sudanese engineers, Sudanese architects, Sudanese teachers that practically went there and helped build the foundations of this country. And how does the UAE repay them? It literally turns around and starts genociding them. Yeah. After it has gone successful, right? So, so the UAE is now practically genociding Sudanese people. I've sent you, did I send it to you? Hold on, so I can show you. Yeah, so these two corridors, by the way, that I've sent you, if you can like pull them up.
The Belt and Road Initiative and the India
Belt
Middle
and
East.
Road Initiative, exactly, and the India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor.
Okay, so here's the India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor. You want to do this one first?
Yeah, so this is a corridor. The proposal was kind of like signed off on September the 2023, right? So this is a economic corridor that the West and all of its allies wants to build. It's an economic corridor that's supposed to minimize trade costs as well. It's supposed to start in India and end in Europe. This is an economic corridor that is also supposed to go through Israel or potentially through Gaza, which is precisely why Gaza cleanse a lot of people in Gaza, because they want this economic route to go through Gaza instead of going through Haifa, right? Which is in Israel proper. So this is an economic corridor that the West so badly wants to build. And then the second corridor that I just showed you, the Belt and Road Initiative,
Got it.
which is, I sent it to you as well. That one. This is the one that China and its allies wants to build. It has an overland route and also a maritime route. And if you see, the maritime route goes through the Indian Ocean, through the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, through the Red Sea, and through the Suez Canal. So basically, long story short, this is an economic war between the East and the West, and that whole region is stuck in between.
Why? Why the
both
war?
of these.
Why? I guess why the war? Just like the UAE has decided that they just get this gold. Like, why not include Sudan? This is what's. I mean, war rarely makes sense, but why not just include Sudan here? Like, if they have these resources, why not build up Sudan? Why the war? Why the genocide? Why all of this?
So Sudan was already a stable country prior to that. Like, Sudan was one of the strongest economies, was a very stable, relatively stable country as well. And they want to maximize their profits. Why would they want to share? Like, if you engage in a more balanced trade relationship with multiple countries in Africa, people you probably don't even see as your equal, you think these people are beneath you. Why should you pay them their fair share of money, right? You would want to instead maximize your own profits and gain some type of control over them, because you know that if you do that,
You're breaking up a little bit. You got? I'm not making out what you're saying.
Oh, can you hear me now?
That's better. Yep.
Yeah. So basically, destabilizing these regions is going to be beneficial to you in the long run. Because if you have destabilized regions, you can still continue acquiring these resources very cheaply. You don't have to pay them their fair share, and you can maximize your profits.
Oh boy. Okay. So I think that's a lot of information today. Here's the question. Obviously, you have some links here. I've got it up now of places that we can go and donate.
Can I show you one last thing though?
Please. Oh, yeah, please.
Yeah. So you see the map of Sudan that I have there that I showed you?
Let me go back. Is it the one with the red and the blue?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So the blue and the yellow, the blue are the RSF. The yellow are also like RSF allied, if I'm not mistaken. And the red is the Sudanese military. If you notice, the RSF is concentrated on one side, which is in the Darfur region, Western Sudan.
Yeah, I would have expected this to be flipped. Explain that.
Yeah, the reason, because they couldn't make it to the Red Sea. They tried. They have drone striked Port Sudan multiple times, but the Sudanese military has fortified its borders there because they know that the UAE wants the Red Sea, right? So the RSF is now doing this because they want to chip away at Sudan. They have created a parallel government. They want to potentially create their own country. And that's why they're concentrated in one area. And if you see the northern part, in the beginning of this year, the Sudanese military was actually winning. And they lost. The RSF are now making, because Libya, a Libyan brigade, or a Libyan government, because there are two governments in Libya currently, the Haftar government invaded. And it invaded Sudan, and it decided to help the RSF and fortify them. And that's precisely why the RSF was able now to take over El-Fasher. I want to address this, the humanitarian cost of this, because we've been We've been spending so much time addressing the whys, the hows, the UAE, but I want to show people the humanitarian cost of this, right? There are 10 famines that have been declared in Sudan. Level 5 famine since the past year, in El-Fasher specifically. This area has been under siege for over 500 days. So nothing was allowed to go in, nothing was allowed to go out. That people were so desperate they were eating animal feed. And now they've resorted to eating the skins of humans. Like, people are literally eating skin because of how desperate they have gotten, right? Over 30 million people need humanitarian aid. 12 to 16 million people are displaced. The death toll officially says that it's like over 150,000, but that's a massive undercount. Because the last time that there was a massacre in one single refugee camp called Zemzem, the official death toll was 400. But when The Guardian went in and conducted an investigation, they found that the death toll was over 2,000 in that one single camp. Within 72 hours, they were able to kill over 2,000 people in one single camp. Over 770,000 children under the age of 5 are at risk of dying.
How many did you say?
Over 770,000.
Jesus.
Right? So 25 million people are now food insecure, which is half of the country's population, right? 40% of young children show signs of malnutrition. There are some reports saying that already 500,000 children died because of famine. So the humanitarian cost, and I would really hope that you could show those 2 videos, because I do want to show people just 2 minutes of those 2 videos that I sent you to show the humanitarian cost, because it's legitimately disgusting. And the RSF, by the way, for the past 48 hours, they have killed over 5,000 people. That is 150 people an hour, at least at the minimum, and 1 person every 34 seconds. Every 34 seconds, they have killed a person. And that is only in the last 48 hours. These are Holocaust numbers. Like, these numbers are unprecedented. I can't even begin to comprehend that over 5,000 people have been killed in the past 48 hours. And this is only an undercount, by the way. This is a massive, massive undercount, right? So the 2 videos that I want to show, this one, you can start at the 7 minute and 40 second mark.
Yeah, I'm there.
And you can go up until the 10 minute, 10 second mark.
All right, let's play it. Do you need to add any context here before I play it?
This is in the southern part of Sudan, where a lot of people have fled to flee the genocide, but the problem is met with famine and just no humanitarian aid in the South Kordofan region.
Okay. Let me unmute this just so if you guys want a link, and we'll drop the link. I'll put it on the outline. But if you want to find this, go ahead. I think.
Yeah, and then the last video that I do want to show that was very important is from El-Fasher. This is a video of where children, pregnant women, and just the most vulnerable. The RSF has a habit of attacking the most vulnerable because it wants to destroy the future of Sudan. It just rapes them, uses them as sex slaves, or just kills them. And sometimes what they do is they have a habit of asking the father to pick which. They have asked fathers to give them which daughters they could violate. There have been instances where the youngest victims were 1-year-olds. Multiple 1-year-olds were raped by the RSF. So this is a very animalistic level of barbarism, horrific, that have kept me up at night. The videos that I have been seeing from Sudan, though, I don't think I've ever in my life seen it. The United Nations has referred to what's happening in Sudan today. And the fact that people are not talking about it is because it's happening in Africa is because it's happening to Black people, and people think that genocide and famine is the natural condition of Africans, right?
Yeah.
So it is a horrific humanitarian crisis. And this short clip, it's like a minute clip, is a woman being interviewed after the RSF had attacked a camp in El-Fasher. And this was before they took over the city. So before they took over the city, they were still regularly.
Oh, did we lose you?
No, I'm here.
Oh,
I just kept quiet.
Oh, just
you can
cut
play it.
Okay, just cut out right at the end.
في حمل عندنا 2 حامل ماتوا في هذا.
عندكم 2 كم هم؟
2 حمل. هذا مركز إيواء كما شايفين. أمس بالليل دقونا النهار حوالي الساعة 3 قريب 4 دقونا دانتين. الدانة الأولى كانت هناك في الكرفانات، والدانة الثانية النازحين قاموا جرى دخلوا الملجأ وذلهم دانة جوا الملجأ. الميتين أكثر من 50 برا من المجرحين، أكثر من 40 مجرحين، لأن الناس كلها خشت في هذا
والمركز ده يسكن فيه كم نازي؟
200 أسرة.
200 أسرة.
200 أسرة بأطفال كبار سن.
كل أطفال وكبار سن ونساء.
كبار سن ماتوا، كبار سن، أطفال، نساء. في حمل عندنا 2 حامل ماتوا في هذا.
عندكم 2 كم هم؟
2 حمل. صباح ناس جايين من محل تقية في خشم الباب دقام دانا. واحدة برضه حامل في الشهر السابع كسر لها رجلها سبب النزيف توفت. الله أكبر، إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون، إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون، لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. نحن نازحين ما عندنا يد في الحرب، لا مع الجيش ولا مع الدين، مواطنين دايرين نعيش. الصباح بعد صلاة الصبح ثاني وزليم دانا دخل أهل الفاشر، إحنا لسه معانين وحصار وجوع وعطش وما زلنا بقذفونا بالراجمات بالمسيرات. الله أكبر، إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون، لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم.
For anybody who, if you have like the smaller screen, you couldn't read there. This is just an encampment, displaced encampment, and the RSF bombed their shelter, which included 2 pregnant women, and then they had aid. It looks like humanitarian aid that was coming, and they bombed the humanitarian aid again. It's astounding to me to watch our government. Who knows this? Like this isn't stuff like we don't know it. And I appreciate you taking all the time to explain this to us. And I think for a lot of us, we're still pretty lost and need to go do some more homework. But they know. It's not like our government doesn't know this. It's not like Marco Rubio doesn't know this. Trump probably doesn't because he's an idiot. But we know what's going on. We know what they're doing, and it's just always money first.
Yeah, they know. So Anthony Blinken in January of last year literally said that the RSF was committing genocide. So they already know, and Trump still moved forward with authorizing the $1.4 billion worth, and continues as well, just funding, right? And not only Trump, but China, but Russia, all these countries, the UK, they don't care. They don't care the human cost. All they care about is money. How do you maximize your profits? How do you build these economic corridors? How do you destabilize Africa so much so that you can steal as much money and resources people who are dying? Boycott the UAE. Don't ever romanticize Dubai. Like the last thing that I wanted to end with is it infuriates me when I see people buying trips to Dubai, talking about Dubai chocolate, romanticizing the UAE. No, boycott that shit. Like this is literally a shithole country. Pardon my French, RTP, right?
That's French, yeah.
Is literally a country like Israel that is genociding people, genociding children, okay? So boycott anything that is associated with the UAE. You know who's associated with the UAE? Motherfucking Disney. Tell me why Disney decided to kind of like start a project of building Disneyland in Dubai. While they're doing all of this, Disney needs to be boycotted. Uber needs to be boycotted. Uber has so much projects that it has started with the UAE. Huda Beauty. If you like makeup, I was devastated. Huda Beauty, the makeup artist who sells like foundations and all those different things, she has her headquarters in Dubai. And she knows this, by the way. She was informed about this. And she said that, oh, it would be too expensive to like move the headquarters or whatever it is, right? Boycott Huda Beauty, boycott Microsoft, Disney, Uber. If you like to travel, Marriott International. Don't book any rooms with Marriott because they also have extensive like work with them as well, right? And this list that you have right behind you is a list of all the companies that are actively participating in the genocide by selling weapons. And like, if everybody could just literally post about this, there are 412 people here. If everybody could just simply post boycott the UAE and push it into the FYP, I think people would understand that there is nothing but blood, death, and suffering behind the glitter and the gold of Dubai.
I appreciate you so much. You take on a lot of really dark subjects, and I know just for me, like personally, keeping me educated and keeping me honest, and I appreciate your courage in always pushing other people to share this. It's devastating. It's honestly,
Exactly.
it's honestly devastating, and I don't know how you do it every day, but we appreciate you.
Do you want to
Real
Do you
quick,
want to put that
real
back
quick.
back up and
It's right here. Hold on one
highlight
second. Hold
the?
on one second. Real
Oh
quick.
yeah,
I just wanted you
food kitchen.
to, yeah, if you want to go over these links here where people can help, that'd be, and then we'll get out of here.
Yes, this is a food kitchen. That is. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah,
I think I cut out. Okay. This is a food kitchen called Hope and Haven. They're currently operating multiple food kitchens, and they're kind of trying to feed people, including people who are fleeing El-Fasher. Unfortunately, less than 5,000 people, or about 5,000, fled. El-Fasher itself is a city that has over 230,000 people, half of them being children. By the way, children. In a massacre yesterday, they killed about 460 people in a hospital. These were only patients, by the way, not soldiers. They were just injured patients and doctors, and they killed about 460, right? So from all the people who are dying, 5,000 people have fled from the 230,000 people. So these people are going to need food. They're going to need some type of like nourishment in a country that has more than 10 declared famines. And so Hope and Haven is a really, really good initiative that is trying to kind of give warm meals on a daily basis and also medication to people who are also dying of disease. So people are not only being killed by the RS massacre, they're also dying of disease and hunger. This is an initiative that I wanted to highlight for today, that if you even have like $5, it would really, really go a long way.
Okay, and that's you can see the link, then 14395 Hope and Haven, Sudan. We'll drop that in the Discord as well. We'll have all that available for everybody. And then, of course, guys, like Athena doesn't do this job for free. Her work, it looks like the PayPal and the link tree there. The PayPal is Athena XTASY, and then the link tree there as well. If you guys can help her out, she deserves it. I wasn't sure if that's what it was supposed to be. That's all.
One thing I wanted to see that you could focus on, by the way, the brother of the leader of the RSF is currently in Washington, D.C. He's trying to lobby Republican politicians.
That makes sense.
So this guy who has sanctions, by the way, the U.S. sanctioned him. And for some reason, even though the U.S. sanctioned him like last year, because he's the brother of the leader of the RSF, the people doing this genocide, he somehow was allowed into the country and is now in Washington, D.C. at the Waldorf Astoria. He's staying there. So if anybody is in Washington, D.C., I would highly recommend protest. Protest outside of the Waldorf Astoria and ask them why they're harboring a war criminal and why he even is in Washington, D.C. trying to lobby some politicians. It's crazy.
It looks like that sanction happened January 7th, so before Trump took office, and they're just ignoring it. Yeah, that makes sense. Makes perfect
Yeah,
sense.
exactly. But thank you very much. I
Thank you.
appreciate you so much for
Keep
this.
guys, make sure you're following Athena anywhere she goes. We'll have you back on. I'm going to process some of this, do some more research, and we'll have you back on. I think for a lot of us, this is also new. Trying to make sense of it's difficult, but I'll be in touch. And thank you so much for giving us your time today.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate you. Have a nice day.
We'll see you. All right, guys. Thanks to Athena. I don't know how we move on from that. That's a tough thing to move on from. Let me get through some super chats, comments that came in, and then we'll go on with the news. Leanne said, "Whose labor are they using to take their resources?" I do think she answered that. I saw that, Leanne, and I think from Ainsley, and I think we're good. I think so. Jen, did I miss anything?
Jumar sent a Venmo, no words for this horrific shit. I didn't post that. So on TikTok, I did link the I'll retag it for the food bank on TikTok, and I can drop it again in on YouTube. Twitch is glitching out. I don't know if you saw that. I don't know.
I did see that. Somebody was saying like AWS was down. I know her, like she was glitching out on my end anyways, just from time to time. I was watching the chat. I think it's maybe just a Twitch thing. So if you're over at Twitch, TikTok, and YouTube, I don't think we're having that problem. So you can come on over there.
Yeah, that's what I mentioned to them. So I think that's. Oh, now it's up. Oh, it sounds like a chipmunk on Twitch.
Let me change.
Just came back.
Let me do this. I'm going to change this background back. Do that now that that's up. All right, back to our regularly scheduled programming. It's kind of weirdly like a good segue here. Where we left off before that, we were talking about Trump's visit to Korea, and the gift that they gave him, I thought, was pretty fitting for a guy and a party who's been running around claiming that he's not a king. YouTube was glitching too. Look here.
If you guys are glitching on TikTok, refresh. It's fine. On my end.
On TikTok it is. Should be good there. All right. Here's the gift that the South Koreans decided to give Donald Trump yesterday.
한반도를 최초로 통일한 5대 왕국 신라의 대표적인 인물 천마총 금관입니다.
This is the 천마총 gold crown, which is a key artifact that represents the Silla dynasty, the first Korean kingdom to unite the Korean peninsula.
천마총 금관은 현존하는 신라의 금관 6점 중에 가장 화려하고 큰 금관입니다.
This gold crown is the largest and most extravagant of the 6 existing gold crowns from the Silla period.
천마총 금관은 하늘의 권위, 지상의 통치를 연결하는.
All right, there's that. Let's get into Mike Johnson, because clearly this guy's not a king. Clearly, like this money funnel here, this is happening. We spent all morning so far talking about UAE, and they've been bribing Trump right and left. You have the Qataris who've given him a jet. Obviously, you have the UAE pumping him money, and there's other there's other places that are. If we're going to be honest about where we have to boycott, there's that list of companies. But let's be honest. What about anybody who's a fan of Premier League soccer? What about anybody who's a fan of the UFC? What about anybody who's fans of professional golf with the Live Tour? All of this money that's being used to fund these genocides is being poured into American sports as well. Remember when the whole world shut down? You guys remember that for COVID? And the UFC needed someplace? Where'd they go? Dubai. The NBA, NFL. Is the NFL, do they have, I don't know if we've got foreign money in the NFL yet. Do we? I'm not sure. Are any of the ownership groups either Saudi or Qatari or UAE? I don't know. We don't watch any sports in this house. It sucks. It's been siphoned into our sports over and over again. These folks have been able to whitewash everything they do by giving Americans a bunch of money. We had all the comedians that were just over in the Middle East. This is what they do, and this sucks. We're not the good guys. I'm pretty baffled by Americans right now who are like, I'm proud to be an American. Jaguars owner, not sure. What makes you proud to be an American today? Those of you who still say that, what do we have to be proud of today? Did the Republicans all leave when we were talking about a genocide? I think most of them are out. When they say Trump is bad if he took warlords out, dude, bro, why are you obsessed with Trump? How come everything we say, any criticism of Trump, you're like, well, if he did something else, you'd still complain. Why don't you just stick to the discussion, Stick? This is why you get muted every day. It's like you refuse to go any deeper than like the surface level. And then when I just get annoyed and I mute you every day. But that's what you took from this? That's what you took? When they say Trump is bad if he took warlords out, you know they would. Showing all the dead warlords on CNN and MSNBC and saying they were peaceful. Well, I don't know why you need to show them. No, they wouldn't do that. Since when? Since when have we ever done that? That didn't happen with Saddam Hussein. That didn't happen with Gaddafi. That didn't happen with Osama bin Laden. But you just think the rules would be totally different for Trump? You live in this weird reality where Trump gets criticized a lot and you just think it's everybody else's fault. It couldn't possibly be that Donald Trump does crazy shit all the time, right? It couldn't possibly be the constant lies. It couldn't possibly be the corruption. It couldn't possibly be trying to overthrow the government. It couldn't possibly be Donald Trump. It's just all of us. Just for some reason, he's the one guy that we criticize all the time, and everybody else is exactly the same. There's your answer. It's not true, Stick. I think you're just like every other MAGA. You just wake up every day and you figure out some way that you're the victim and everybody else is the bad guy. And that's your entire ideology. Whatever you can do to make Trump seem like a victim, you'll do it. How about just call balls and strikes? How about that? What if you just didn't give a fuck? Why do you even give a fuck if he is criticized? Who cares? Being president's a tough job. You get criticized. Why are you so worried about people criticizing him? Why does that matter to you? Unless you've tied your identity and your worth to Donald Trump, then why do you care if they criticize him? Why does that bother you? There's an answer there, Stick. There's an answer there. You've adopted Donald Trump as your political ideology. It's all you care about. Seems to be all you know. You know, if Trump took warlords out, they'd say it's civilians. No, this is just what you do. This is what you guys all do to mask the fact that you support an absolute psychopath. You pretend that we live in a world where Trump is normal, where Trump is just like everybody else, where everybody else did the same thing as Trump. I've said this before, but like if we had a list, if we sat down and I was able to list all the things that Donald Trump did that were wrong. On the other side, if you were to compare a list, you wouldn't be able to give me one person. You wouldn't be able to take a list of all the things Trump did wrong and then a list on the other side of all the things Biden did wrong that match up with that, or Obama. You would literally have to use everybody ever. Throughout the history of the world, throughout the entire Democratic Party, throughout the whole country, you'd be using random people on Twitter. You'd be using like state senators. You'd be using people, TV commentators. Do we not get that? Like, everything I criticize Trump for, that you guys play whataboutism, it's never the same person that you whataboutism. It's always like, well, what about this person? What about this person? What about this person? It's always the entire population of the world. Well, the entire population of the world, if we search them, that they've sometimes done stuff that Trump did. It's just a little pathetic, Stick, if we're being honest. Why do I hate Trump? I hate Trump because he's a liar. I hate Trump because he's a bad leader. I hate Trump because he pours gasoline on every single fire. I hate Trump because he never admits that he did anything wrong. And I don't like what America stands for. If you're saying I'm hating America, interestingly enough, Stick, when I asked you why you like Trump, why you love America, what was your answer? You were quiet then. What's your answer? Democracy? That's everywhere. Freedom? That's everywhere. Economic opportunity? That's everywhere. What is it about America that is so unique that should make us proud? That we lock up more of our citizens than any country on earth? Is that it? We have the highest health care? We have the most money and we can't fix education? What the fuck am I supposed to be proud about with America? Stick, give me some examples. What are some things I should wake up every day and go, good job, America? You guys are taking us back. You're trying to undo the Civil Rights Act now? You guys are trying to undo democracy now? You're just like openly gerrymandering? You got police in the streets. You got the National Guard in the streets. You have ICE masked men arresting U.S. citizens. What the fuck am I supposed to be proud of? Are we going to be quiet now, Stick? I look forward to your list of things that I'm supposed to be fucking proud of. Seems to me that you just like Donald Trump and you hate libs. Or you hate anybody who doesn't like Donald Trump. That seems to be your entire ideology, but I look forward to that list you're about to give me of all the shit that I'm supposed to be proud of in this country. I'm not proud of this country. I'm not proud of our leadership. I'm not proud of Democrats. I'm not proud of Republicans. I fucking hate our foreign policy. We could have world peace if the United States wouldn't worship money, but we do worship money. And the people that worship money the most are also the ones that talk about God the most. Why? Because they don't want you talking about their worship of money. It was always alarming to me as I left like my religion, looking back in, to look at all the stuff that my religious family and friends justify. And they almost live in these two worlds. There's like this ideal world where like your religion plays out the way that you think it does and everybody would be happier. And then you're like, and then there's the real world. Well, yeah, the real world and your religious world are different, but why do you align with the opposite of your religion all the time? Who are the people that Donald Trump speaks kindly of? Other world leaders. Putin? Everybody Donald Trump praises is an absolute psycho dictator. Just Stick, let me know. Did you run? Did you take off? I just want to know what I'm supposed to be proud of. Maybe I'm missing some things.
You probably don't see the Ottoman flags. I sent you what his response was.
Oh, it was about trans people. Shocker. He said, I don't care if trans suck dick every day, but don't expect me to accept it. I don't think they want to do that to you, but I think there's no line to suck your dick if I was guessing. I don't think there's a lot of people on. In fact, if I were you, I would probably take whatever I can get. But there you go. See, we're not. There's another reason I'm not proud of America, because when I ask people to tell me what they're proud of, they immediately just start talking about trans people. We're fucking broken, absolutely broken. What a weird thing to say, man. What a weird. Oh, you muted him on that one. I covered sensitive topic today. That's why the glitches. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Could be my internet. We only have one more week of dealing with this shitty internet, hopefully, and then we're done. Or just the rest of this week, I guess. All right. Mike Johnson. Get to that clip now. Well, I know you guys just complained about the No Kings rally. I also want to point out real quick that the No Kings rally wasn't saying Trump is a king. And this is, I maybe have to spell this out for Republicans. The No Kings rally was saying, we don't have kings here, so we're not ruled by one person. Because in this country, we don't have kings. So Donald Trump saying something doesn't make it the law. That was the protest. And Republicans are like, we don't have kings. We just do everything Donald Trump says. And that's why there's a little bit of confusion. But here is Mike Johnson explaining why Donald Trump's not a king, and then Trump immediately saying, no, bitch, I'm your king.
Of the American people. They had a rally a couple weeks ago. They tried to portray President Trump as a king.
Last week.
And we pointed out, again, the obvious truth. If the president was a king, then the government would be open. He's been trying to do that. And low-income families would
the government was okay.
Be getting the food assistance that they need by Saturday. Republicans cannot wave a wand and reopen the government on our own. We must have a handful of centrist Democrats in the Senate do the right thing. Of the American.
All right. Well, all right. So if we don't have it, if we had a king, the government would be open, right? Because of Congress. But what if I told you that our president doesn't need Congress, and he's openly said, I don't need Congress. He just needed Congress to do one thing, and now he doesn't need them anymore.
For your workers, and it really covers everything. The great, big, beautiful bill. We got everything done. I said, let's get it all done. A lot of people want to do it little, small pieces. Like 9 of them, 12 of them. I said, put it all into one bill, and if we get it done, we're done for 4 years. We don't need anything more from Congress in terms of that, right, Scott? We got it all done. It was a little risky, but because if we didn't get it done, I don't know, who knows what would happen with these radical left lunatics that we have to deal with.
Let's be clear. He doesn't want to open the government, and he's telling us openly that he doesn't want to open the government. Here he is on the plane, just dropping hints right and left. Again, it's important to remember that Donald Trump is too stupid to like play 4D chess. He's too stupid to be sly. He talks too much. He's like me. He's an oversharer. He hears something and it just comes out of his mouth. He's like, fuck, I shouldn't have said that. I think this is one of those instances.
What did you mean last night when you said you were prepared to send more than the National Guard into American cities?
Sure, I would. I would do that if it was necessary. You know, if it was necessary, I'd do that. But
so what? Can you? The question was, I wrote it down here. What did you mean last night when you said you were prepared to send more than the National Guard into American cities?
it hasn't been necessary. We're doing a great job without that. But yeah, if it was necessary. As you know, I'm allowed to do that.
Do you mean other branches of the military you would send in, or?
If it were, who are you with?
The New York Times.
Well, that's very good, very good. Well, if you write it correctly, I'll give you the answer. But you know, if I want to enact a certain act, I'm allowed to do it. Routine.
He's not saying the certain act, and it's a little loud. So what he says is, if you write it correctly, I'll give you the answer. But if I want to enact a certain act, I'm allowed to do it. I'd be allowed to do whatever I want. The courts wouldn't get involved. Nobody would get involved. And I could send the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines. I could send anybody I wanted. He talks about, you keep hearing him talk about like that 50% of presidents have used this act. It's the Insurrection Act. He probably forgot the word, but he's talking about the Insurrection Act. And he says 50% of presidents have used it. I don't know the math on that. I don't know that it's true. But let me give you some examples, the examples I could find of presidents using the Insurrection Act. Andrew Jackson in 1831 used the Insurrection Act to suppress the Nat Turner slave rebellion, aiming to quickly restore order after a violent uprising that threatened state security. Abraham Lincoln invoked and expanded it during the Civil War to legally deploy federal troops to southern states. Ulysses S. Grant invoked the act to combat the Ku Klux Klan violence in South Carolina during Reconstruction. Eisenhower used it in 1957 to enforce desegregation of Central High School in Little Rock, Arkansas. JFK used it in the 60s for civil rights enforcement. Notice how all of this was to protect people, protect marginalized people. Every single one of these. Lyndon Johnson invoked it multiple times to protect civil rights marchers in Selma, to quell major race riots and disturbances in Detroit, and after the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. in 1968. And then George H.W. Bush, I believe, is the last to invoke it in 1992 during the L.A. riots following the Rodney King beating. And now Donald Trump is saying, I want to use it. For what? For what? The ICE route, the ICE protests, which have not been violent, those would go away if ICE wasn't there. Those would go away if ICE didn't keep just arresting citizens, if ICE wasn't so brutal. Trump tried to use the Insurrection Act in 2020 after the George Floyd protests. Nobody would let him do it. Yeah, you're exactly right. He's dying to use it. And he's dying to use it because that's what Project 2025 says that they're going to do. Because it gives him a whole lot of power. And what that would allow him to do is during the election, which he can't cancel, he certainly could stage the military outside. He could certainly intimidate people. They could arrest people. You don't think ICE would arrest people waiting to vote, even if they had proof of citizenship? Of course they would. There's been lots of people ICE has arrested that have proof of citizenship. But even then, do you need, if you're standing in line to vote, should you have to give your proof of citizenship to the National Guard? No, of course not. That's not what we do. It's not how this country works. Donald Trump doesn't want to be like America. Donald Trump wants to be like Russia. He wants to be like China. I don't know if he's going to get it done. I have no idea. I'm going to skip that video there. I'm going to get to this Mike Johnson presser. But I'm starting to see the cracks form with the Republicans. First, Mike Johnson was asked about the SNAP funding and why the White House can't seem to find any funding for SNAP. Nobody believes in unlimited immigration. I just don't believe in cruelty. Why do you guys always do this, Tim? I want to ask you a real question. How is it that you just heard me talk about all of that? And then your next question is, do I believe in unlimited immigration? Why is that your question, Tim? Shouldn't your question be about like what we're talking about? Why is it always like everything that Republicans always say about us is wrong? Do you honestly not know what we believe in? Do you honestly not know what we advocate for? Because it seems like the reason that you got, like, when we point out Donald Trump's cruelty and ISIS cruelty, you guys always just say, oh, open borders. Okay, well, even if there were open borders, should you be cruel? Even if there were open borders, should you arrest American citizens? Should you be ripping mothers away from their children? Do you have to be cruel? Even if we did believe that, is that justification for being cruel? No, I'm just wondering, Tim. No, I know none of you guys are Republicans. None of you are. You just obfuscate from what we're talking. I want you to answer my question, Tim. You just asked me a second question. What the fuck is wrong with everybody who like doesn't want, like, who watches the Republicans? You tell us you're not Republican, fine. But it's weird because when I ask you a direct question, you don't want to answer it. Why'd you ask that question? Why wouldn't we show you Trump talking about using the military to take over the streets? Why did you ask me that question? That's what I'm wondering, Tim. Illegal or not U.S. citizens. Still not answering the question. Tim, are you going to answer this question at any point? Or do we need to move on, bud? We stopped the whole show for you. Kirsten said Mike Johnson lies on another level. Facts. Just a reminder, we are crowdfunded, guys. It's been a down day. I understand. But if you can help us knock out our gift goal, it's going to be a long day. We've got date night tonight with Admir. So anything you can do to help us knock out that goal would be greatly appreciated. Unfortunately, we can't work for free. To see what my view is on immigration policy, well, Tim, why don't you just stay on topic? You just decided you wanted to derail this whole thing? Why does it matter what my view on immigration policy is, Tim? You need to know my views on immigration policy because Trump is talking about using the military on American citizens? You're MAGA. You can say whatever you want. Oh, I'm not MAGA. I'm not a Republican. I'm just curious. White House now be able to find some funding for the SNAP program since they've done it for all these other programs that they found funding for.
They certainly tried. I mean, one of the reasons that this shutdown has not backwards the administration, think of it this way. The White House, the executive branch in a shutdown, has a large control panel full of dials. Under the Obama administration, they turned those dials, the veterans. I mean, they put yellow crime tape around the World War II memorial so that people who'd served their country could not go visit the memorial.
Yeah, they put yellow tape around pain level 10. Not giving people SNAP benefits? Keep talking, bitch. Keep fucking talking. Can you imagine being an American voter who's going to lose SNAP benefit? Rule 2, what did he do? He put yellow tape around monuments. Huh? What? That's turning cruelty up to 10, says Mike Johnson.
They wanted it to hurt. The Democrats have shown, and they've said in their own words.
I have a sneaking suspicion one of those monuments was a meetup spot for Mike Johnson with his grinder dates, and I think that's why the pain level was up to 10 there.
This is leverage. It gets better for them every day. They don't mind inflicting pain on the American people if they can somehow get some sort of political points out of it. The Republican Party is the opposite.
Okay, so what about you? So you could pay SNAP benefits, right? You clearly are able to leverage your rich donors to pay for the military. What are we talking about here? Only one person can get SNAP funding through the end of the year. And that's Trump. Trump can do it. He can reallocate money. That money has already been allocated. It's already been appropriated by Congress through the rest of the year. He could do that. The longer this goes on, the more people are going to recognize that Democrats are asking for ACA subsidies, Medicaid restoration, and SNAP benefits. And Republicans are saying, we can't do it because it's the Democrats' fault. Good luck. Good luck with that messaging. That's not going to last long. Which is why I think so many Republicans now are openly talking about the elections and why they're openly trying to cheat and why they're so comfortable sending in the National Guard, because this is terrible. I played the clip earlier from Marjorie Taylor Greene, but like Republicans are panicking that they're going to get smoked in the midterms because any person who isn't political, any person who doesn't worship Donald Trump is going to look at this from an outsider's perspective and say, what did Mike Johnson say? Mike Johnson said the Democrats are turn up the pain level to 10 because they put caution tape around a monument. And now and they're cutting these SNAP benefits. They're cutting ACA subsidies. And they're saying that it's somehow the Democrats' fault. And the Democrats are saying we could open the government tomorrow if these guys would agree to fix the ACA subsidies and restore SNAP benefits. It would be open tomorrow, but they don't want to do it. That doesn't work very long.
And President Trump has proven that every day of this shutdown. He has tried to move funds around to find unobligated funds to cover the bases, to get the troops paid in the middle of October, and to make sure that WIC funding is not resolved. You know how he's getting women, infants, and children funding done? They did some very creative legal research I've quite admired. They found a statute in the 1930s that they could use to say that some of the tariff revenue could be used to cover nutrition because so much of that was transported over the border. So they've done some creative, amazing things to mitigate, to lessen the pain as much as possible.
But they could also just pay out the SNAP benefits. That's another option. All this creative stuff is just so that they can do SNAP, and it's a win for Republicans. Like you see video after video from Republicans who don't understand SNAP, like all over the internet. Say, "Oh, you don't need SNAP. You shouldn't get free food anyways." It's a win. It's a win for their base, but it's not a win for votes. You need more than your base to win elections. So if your base shows up with this ideology, good luck. Sarah, tariffs saving lives. Yeah, they sure are. They sure are. Just taxpayer money. You realize that you just increase taxes, right? That's what he's saying. It's fucking crazy to watch Mike Johnson stand on stage. Republicans in the chat sit here and they're like, what happens when the government doesn't have enough money? I know, let's raise taxes. And the Democrats are like, we should raise taxes to pay for healthcare and SNAP. And you're like, no, I believe in low taxes. Then Trump's like, I'm going to raise your taxes and we're going to use it to pay for this. Yay! You guys are the most, you're socialists, first of all. You're getting there. You're looking an awful lot like socialists these days, taking parts of companies, making private companies, forcing them to give some of their shares to the government. Massive tax increases to pay for pet projects. You understand what just happened, right? Mike Johnson just admitted to all of you that they're lying to you every fucking day. That if we need to pay for more things, we can just tax people more. And he also has taught us that if you just tell Republicans it's not a tax, they'll pay it. Oh, it's just not a tax? All right, yeah, that's fine. We'll just pay it. It's not this money I'm paying is actually being paid by China. And then on to the other important things that Republicans are talking about, the autopen.
Yeah.
On the autopen investigation and the oversight committee's report that was released this morning, some Senate Republicans have suggested that perhaps there isn't a legal avenue to void the pardons that were signed by the autopen, these executive authorities. Do you think that there is a legal avenue? That's what the investigation concludes, that any of those executive avenues.
If for some reason you couldn't hear, basically she just is saying there's a lot of Republicans saying there's no legal path to undo these pardons. There's no illegality that anybody can point to of using an autopen. It's not illegal. You're allowed to use an autopen. You don't even have to sign pardons. What's your response to people saying that this is fucking bullshit?
That were signed by the autopen and by the administration should be void. Do you think that's possible?
Nothing this incredible and insane has happened before. This was not something that the forefathers anticipated. It's unprecedented. There is no legal precedent because no previous president had an autopen or had the audacity to have people signing things on their behalf when they didn't even know what was in it. And so we're in uncharted waters as a nation. As we say up here all the time, we're so tired of making history. I just want normal times, normal Congress again.
Stop breaking the law, asshole! It's never normal when Trump's in charge. Are you not linking this yet? Yeah, you're always making history because you're always doing some weird shit that nobody's ever done before. That's why. Stop doing that shit. That would be a good way.
But the Biden administration was unprecedented in so many ways, and the president was checked out of his job for quite some time, and everybody knows it. And there was a cover-up. The people around him who were they would give him scripts to follow. They would point him literally in the direction, stand here, sir, wave.
I just watched Donald Trump be led around a room. I've watched Donald Trump admit that he doesn't write his own executive orders. I've watched people take credit for writing his executive orders. Like, this is nothing. This is what's so pathetic about our country. When you ask me why I'm not proud, this is why. This is third in charge. Third most powerful person in the country right here. And we're talking about whether or not a pardon should count because the autopen was used instead of a regular pen. That's like, Americans are hurting right now. Americans can't afford anything. People are losing SNAP benefits. We obviously have war breaking out all over the world. But the thing that Republicans want you to think about is whether or not Joe Biden used a fucking autopen. And what does it matter if he did? What does it matter if he was a fucking corpse? We've done this. Ronald Reagan was lost his entire second term and part of his first term. Everybody knows his wife was running the country. Is it illegal? No. Is it unconstitutional? No. None of this stuff is even against the law. So why the fuck are we talking about it? We're talking about it because they don't want to talk about what's happening right now. They don't want to talk about Americans hurting. They don't want to talk about our military in the streets. They want to talk about anything but how fucked they are making this country. So we're talking about an auto pen? Republicans? Oh, good. Tim's back. Thanks, Tim. Good to have you back. Where are we at, Republicans? Is this important? This is your party. They're all following this guy's lead. We're talking about a fucking auto pen. Are you out of your goddamn minds, guys?
Like this. And he didn't know what he was signing, so there's all sorts of just...
Trump follows the Heritage Foundation like he's folding their pocket. Sid said, may God bless America and remove these lunatics from power. Mary said, where was that? For special days. Amy also said, Trump's deporting way less than Biden or Obama, but for performance, because folks like Tim want the cruelty. Facts. Jen Star said, why are Republican men so eager to bend over and be submissive to dear leaders? It's very weird. I think we covered that the other day. I think they're just being almost honest.
And stand here, sir, wave like this. And he didn't know what he was signing, so there's all sorts of just incredible implications. It sounds like a terrible novel or something, but this is reality. And so the pardons, for example, he pardoned categories of violent criminals and turned them loose on the streets, and he didn't even know what the categories were, apparently, much less the individual people that he pardoned. They're invalid on their face. I mean, I used to be a constitutional law litigator. I would love to take this case and go into the court.
Yes, cite it then. Cite it. Cite the part of our Constitution. Cite the part of case law. Cite precedent where it says that you even have to sign any of this. Cite it then, Mike. Because that's what she asked you. She's like, everybody else is saying that there's no path forward here legally for you guys to even go. I would love to prosecute this case. How? What's your justification for this? What's the law that was broken? This wouldn't even make, I don't even know if this would make it past a grand jury. What's the crime? I have no idea what the crime is.
And make that law to set the precedent. You can't allow a president to check out and have unelected, unaccountable, faceless people making massive decisions for the country.
Every executive order this bitch has signed, he didn't write, and he mostly doesn't know what's in it. I mean, if you guys can't see the hypocrisy, the blatant hypocrisy that's happening in front of you, it's one thing if they do things that the other party does. That's one level of hypocrisy. But for them to stand in front of the American people and talk about Joe Biden and talk about shadow governments is bananas. And again, good luck. Good luck trying to make that case to a court. Not one Republican can cite a law. Are there any Republicans here today? Can any of you cite a law? Anybody? I'll look here. Has anybody even heard an attempt? I haven't even heard an attempt of them saying what law was broken. Brianna says, fuck Trump, fuck text, fuck every conservative MAGA cuck. I hope your little blue pills get lost in the mail and you cry your hairy, soft palms to sleep every night. That's a lot of nights to be crying your sweaty palms. All right. Weird. What's going on here? All right. Thanks, Johnny. Johnny, hope you're doing well. Thank you very much for the super chat. I hope you're recovering. All right. Then Mike's going to be asked about Trump running for 2028. These questions are so quiet.
Amendment. I spoke with.
One thing about Mike Johnson is he has answers to all these obscure things until it's about Trump. And whenever it's about Trump, it's like, I haven't heard anything about that. I'll find out about it later. And then he never answers later.
Well, there is the 22nd Amendment. I spoke with the president about an hour ago. It's late in the evening in Japan. He's working around the clock, serving the American people. He doesn't stop. Talk about someone who works around the clock. And as Chairman Pfluger mentioned a moment ago, and as we've reiterated,
He just goes places. He's just like always on vacation. He's golfing or he's on vacation. He's not working. He's just trotting around the world.
Here so many times, you're looking at the split screen because under President Trump, the Republican Party has delivered. I mean, you're talking about reducing taxes, reducing regulations, cutting fraud.
You didn't reduce taxes, except for rich people. You just kept your taxes the same. You got delivered. Listen to what they say they've delivered on.
I mean, you're talking about reducing taxes, reducing regulations, cutting fraud, waste, and abuse, ended the border crisis, ending the crime crisis.
The crime crisis. The border was under control by the time Trump took office. Lowering taxes. How's that going? Again, I asked Republicans, like, what's going well? There's only one thing you guys can really point to, and that's the stock market, which 60% of Americans don't have any money in the stock market, and it's going to crash anyways. And nothing you did made the stock market go up.
Resolving conflicts, wars around the globe, and working on these amazing trade agreements.
Amazing. All these amazing trade agreements that we can't see, by the way, because there aren't any. But they just keep telling you there's these trade agreements.
It's been a great run, but I think the president knows, and he and I have talked about the constrictions of the Constitution, as much as so many of the American people lament that. The Trump 2028 cap is one of the most popular that's ever been produced, and he has a good time with that, trolling the Democrats, whose hair is on fire about the very prospect. But I do believe...
He said he can do it. He said he can do it. Trump says, I can do it. Are we ever going to get anybody on with a set of balls on your side of the aisle, Republicans? Are they all just the biggest pussies you've ever seen in your life? Why? How are you all afraid of this 80-year-old idiot? Every one of you is so afraid of him. It's terrible. It's like when daddy comes home, you got like an abusive dad. So you all just try and build him up. Trump's parenting you all like his dad parented him. You all suck. You're all disposable to me. If you don't worship me, I have no use for you.
That we've got 3 extraordinary years ahead of us, and the 2 years of the Trump administration are going to be an incredible thing. And I don't see a way to amend the Constitution because it takes about 10 years to do that, as you all know. To allow all the states to ratify what...
That's a good point, too, Adam. Why do we want our president trolling? He's supposed to be an adult. Republicans do forget that, too. Like, you guys know he's supposed to, like, bring people together, right? He's supposed to lead the country. You know that, right? Like, you don't elect a president to just represent one group of people. It's for all of us, right? Wouldn't you like to see Trump just try to do it? And even if he gets backlash, maybe not acting like a whiny little bitch and going, I tried one time and then the people were still mean to me, so I'm going to go back to being a piece of shit. What if he just wasn't a piece of shit? What if he could just deal with it like a human being? What if he could like recognize like, oh, I'm the president. I'm going to get backlash all the time. That's part of being president, is that every day somebody's going to criticize you. What if he wasn't such a thin-skinned little bitch that he could handle that and move on with his day? And he could just do what was best for the American people. What if he wasn't trolling people all the time? What if he wasn't reposting AI videos shitting on young Democrats? What if he was just like a normal human being that understood like the magnitude of his office and said, I'm not going to be like everybody else. I'm going to be better. But he's like, I'm not going to be like everybody else. I'm going to be worse. And all these people show up with crosses around their necks and they're like, I love it. I love it because you know what I hate? I hate that my religion always makes me turn the other cheek. So I'm going to support this guy because he gets to be who I really want to be. Just outwardly racist and bigoted.
What 2/3 of the House and 3/4 of the states would approve. So I don't see the path for that. But I can tell you that we are not going to take our foot off the gas pedal. We're going to deliver for the American people, and we've got a great run ahead of us.
Bitch, you guys haven't worked in like 3 fucking months. What are you talking about? The car is on blocks. What do you mean off the gas pedal? You guys haven't done anything for months. This group of people, literally, they have done nothing since August. And they're like, we're going to keep grinding. We're out here just grinding. Most of you aren't even in Washington. We don't know where most of you are. A bunch of you, like some of you have taken multiple trips to Israel just for the fuck of it. You're all on like these vacations, and then you have the audacity to stand in front of Republican voters who are too goddamn dumb, I guess, to realize that you aren't doing anything. And you're like, we're in grind mode, baby. We're hustling. We're going to keep our foot on the gas. You haven't done anything. And by the way, this is a good time to remind you guys. Thanks for those in the chat who reminded me. Like, nobody's as soft as a conservative. Ladies, you know what I'm talking about. Those conservative men are soft as shit. That's why every time you go to a conservative podcast, it's like, and now to our sponsor, Blue Chew. Your dick can work again. You don't have to scream at women when your dick doesn't work. This'll fix it. All right. Now, another story that came out from the Washington Examiner here. We'll get Mike's response to this. Trump administration quietly purges ICE leaders in 5 cities. Trump administration has begun to purge immigration and customs enforcement officials in 5 major U.S. cities. Did I read this yesterday, by the way? I don't think I read this yesterday. Somebody want to let me know if I did? Oh, well. ICE leaders in Denver, L.A., Philadelphia, Phoenix, and San Diego were relieved of their jobs and moved to other posts within the federal agency last Friday. Over the weekend, the Department of Homeland Security quietly started overhauling how it carries out its mass deportation operation in hopes of netting more arrests and ratcheting up its flashy, high-profile deportation campaign. The 5 cities are believed to be the first of more to come across ICE's 24 field offices nationwide, according to 3 officials. One official with firsthand knowledge of the plans, who asked to speak on the condition of anonymity, said the plan goes far beyond the 5 cities. It's a lot more, the official said. A total of 5 sources and the said 5 field office directors had been relieved of their duties and sent to other parts of the country to work. The DHS had plotted to fire all 5 field office directors, but relented amid pushback from acting ICE Director Todd Lyons, who pleaded that they not be terminated. Now, we've got an internal battle right now, a little civil war. You've got Tom Homan versus Kristi Noem, and there's a battle between the 2 of them. I don't know who's going to win. The administration wanted all these guys fired, and Todd stepped in and said, let's move them all to headquarters. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem would have final say in personnel matters at ICE and Border Patrol. The DHS did not comment on Noem's role in the personnel changes. I personally think this is being pushed by Noem and Corey Lewandowski, who I believe she cheated on her husband with Corey Lewandowski, right? Or he cheated on his wife with her. I think that was their deal. Now they're just fucking Bonnie and Clyde over here because they don't like the White House borders are Tom Homan. I think Tom would have said no way, the second official said. Now, these are the same cities that we're talking about, that Trump's been talking about upping ICE raids. So it makes sense that if you're going to up the ICE raids and you want people who are just going to say yes, you might have to remove some people. And that's what it looks like. And obviously, Mike Johnson has had time to discuss that. It happened over the weekend. He should know about that. And he has oversight. It's his job to do oversight. So they asked him a very, very fair question. And Mike Johnson went with his standard answer. Oh, I'm just hearing about this now. I'll get back to you, which he won't.
What's your reaction to yesterday's purge of senior ICE officials from field offices around the country? Are you worried that that's going to result in less experienced leadership at ICE? And again, when is it time for Congress to do some oversight?
I don't know any of the details of that yet. I just heard about that literally. I was walking in, so I'm not going to comment on it until I find out the details. I know some of these things get misportrayed. Yeah.
We'll never get an answer to that. David said, is it me or does Mike look like a real boy? I don't think it's just you. Pretty sure it's not just you. Like it's become so normal that nobody seems to care anymore. There's this obvious fascist agenda driven by Project 2025. And anytime somebody stands up against this obvious fascist agenda, they get fired. And Republicans are like, yeah, those must have been rhinos. Those must be Joe Biden plants. How many more people do you guys have to run out? Never has answers. For real. Amy Lynn said, remember when they said Biden didn't help enough after in North Carolina after the hurricane? This administration reduced aid to North Carolina in multiple instances related to disaster relief, social safety nets, and education. No, they're doing great. That doesn't sound like them, Amy. I think for sure they're still sending money. Probably more money. I'm guessing that's where the what are we, $20 trillion now we've picked up in foreign investment. That's probably where it's going. All right, I'll go back up here. They go. I wanted to show you this. This was more meant for yesterday. This may take This may take up the rest of the show. Stop it there. This is Andre Gique again. I showed him last week, but I've had a hard time. I think like laying out the reason why it matters that Scott Bessent and George Soros and that connection matters, and why it should matter to MAGA, but it doesn't matter because they only care about George Soros when George Soros is funding people on the left. This was one of the best breakdowns I've seen. I do want to say I'll stop this a lot. We've got about 45 minutes left, and I'm gonna go hard cutoff at 1. If you could help us knock out that goal, I'll update it, and then we'll be back tonight at 6 Pacific Standard Time with Admir. So if you have questions about this, go ahead and super chat those, or just any comments. Help us knock out that goal, and this will probably be the rest of the show. But I wanted to lay that out. I think that a lot of us probably have a hard time explaining why that's so important, other than the fact that George Soros has been the boogeyman, and they've used George Soros as a boogeyman without any real understanding or connection. But we should be worried about the connections between George Soros and Scott Bessent, and not necessarily for like nefarious reasons, but just because of the way that they operate and the way that they manipulate currency and the way that they trade, and why that makes a difference for us. Because what we do know about Scott Bessent and George Soros historically is they have no problem fucking up somebody's economy or somebody's currency as long as they're the ones benefiting from it.
See, what the Treasury did was not approved or passed through Congress.
Real quick, we also want to say to Georgie boy, it's good to see you. I know you're listening. Please don't stop our checks. We're sorry about bringing this up, but we still need you to send our checks.
Wasn't voted on, and it didn't even come from the Federal Reserve. It actually came from a completely separate pool of money, and it's one that very few people even know exists. It's called the ESF, the Exchange Stabilization Fund. Now, this
is the fund that Bessent was talking about the other day, just so that we can bring you back in, when he was explaining how we gave the money to Argentina, how it wasn't just cash, it was an exchange. And this is the fund that was created, he's going to point out, in 1934, but that's where we're at. So that's where we're picking up. Argentina got this money, Scott Bessent's like it's an ESF, and that's what caused the alarm bells to ring. And luckily I'd found, what's his name again? Luckily I'd found this dude like 2 days ago, Andre Gique, and he happened to have a video about it, and he's really fucking good at this, and that's why we're playing it.
ESF was actually created way back in 1934 during the Great Depression, with profits the U.S. made from revaluing gold. So at the time, President Franklin Roosevelt literally changed the price of gold from $20.67 an ounce to $35 per ounce. So all of a sudden, the US government just declared that its gold reserves were worth 70% more than they were the day before. That repricing caused a huge profit. It created a huge benefit of billions of dollars for the Treasury. But instead of letting Congress just spend it all, Roosevelt decided to lock it away in a new fund that could be used for emergency stabilization. The idea was that the Treasury could use this secret pool of money to intervene in currency markets for things like stabilizing the dollar, or if we really wanted to, getting involved in foreign economies without ever needing Congress's approval to do it. And for the last 90 years, it's been sitting inside the Treasury, and it was only used a couple of times throughout history that we know of, at least publicly.
Breaking news, Federal Reserve cuts interest rate by 0.25. That's not, yeah, that's, you know what that means? I hope the Republicans that you know what that means, right? That means that people need, like, we're at a situation now where people are going to have to start, start getting loans. Go look at car dealerships, 0% APR everywhere. People lowering these rates is a sign that, like, we're tightening the belts and things aren't going so well. So that's good. It needs to be done. That's what Jerome Powell's supposed to do. It's the right move. But I don't think that's like I hope nobody's celebrating like that, like Trump won. Just because Trump tells you that cutting the rates is a good thing, what Trump's trying to do is stave this off as long as he possibly can. So Trump wants those rates much, much lower so that all of his friends who are in bad debt can refinance their debt under better terms.
For example, it was used in 1995 to bail out Mexico during the peso crisis.
The peso also continued to collapse. It has lost 40% of its value to the dollar in the last 3 weeks.
Again in 2008 during the global financial collapse, and again during the pandemic to backstop credit markets when the Fed ran out of things to do, like lowering interest rates past zero. And now again this time to prop up another country's currency and by extension their economy. Now the question is this funded by our tax dollars? And the answer is yes and no. The Treasury isn't literally sending Argentina just a blank check, right? At least not directly. What they're doing is they're using something called a currency swap. Through the Exchange Stabilization Fund, the Treasury buys Argentina's pesos from Argentina's central bank, giving them US dollars in return. In theory, then, those pesos act as collateral. And in practice, the Treasury is now holding a hyperinflating currency, a melting ice cube on behalf of US taxpayers. Now, that's just the first $20 billion. The second half of this deal was more recent and is expected to come from private investors and hedge funds, sovereign wealth funds, banks, etc. Now, you have to ask, if you're a bank, you might be like, why do I have to do this? I don't want to do this. And the only reason they're willing to is because the US Treasury is guaranteeing the security of their money and some other perks I'll explain soon, but this is also why they want collateral, right? They want something to back the loan with. Because if Argentina defaults and it can't pay back the US, it's going to be the Treasury that gets hurt, and by extension, US taxpayers, which are kind of left holding that bag.
And a devaluation of the currency.
So are taxpayers paying? Not initially, but if it turns out to be a bad investment, then yes.
Peter said, mocking lip-dick conservatives. Tim, thank you for the super chat. Chelsea said, if Trump signed a pardon every 5 seconds, it would have taken him a full 24 hours to sign with the autopen to release the January 6 felons. Jessica, thank you also for joining the dollar train. Kim said, thanks for speaking the truth every day. And then we read Mars.
So then, why Argentina is the next question? Because if you think about it, there's arguably a lot of other countries around the world that could use this money. It's not just Argentina that needs help. The US might need it too. So first, let me just explain what the official story is of why Argentina, and then I'll get into some more interesting revelations.
He does some weird edits of this. You'll see it. Like, they come out of nowhere. I was listening to it, like not watching in my headphones. It fucked me up a few times.
Here's the official story. According to the Treasury, this isn't what it looks like, right? It's not a bailout.
Not a bailout at all. There's no money being transferred. The ESF has never lost money. It's not going to lose money here.
It's being called a currency stabilization partnership, which is a fancy way of saying the US is helping Argentina stabilize its peso by buying it directly through the Exchange Stabilization Fund. Now, the person in charge of this plan is, of course, the Treasury, Secretary Scott Bessent, one of the smartest macro investors on Wall Street, because before joining the Treasury, he spent years running a hedge fund and managing billions of dollars for one of the most successful investors in history. Now, in his first month as Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent has been very loud about one specific thing. And that is that the United States has to take a bigger role in global markets again.
And he is committed to getting China out of Argentina. They're all over the place in Latin America.
He argues that after decades and decades of letting the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, the World Bank, and China dominate the funding of the developing world, the US needs to get back on track. In other words, he wants to slow down this chart right here. Remember this one? It's the chart that shows decades and decades of de-dollarization. So the goal is to defend the dollar's global role by helping allies stabilize their economies before China does it with the yuan, which we know will be backed by gold. So that's the idea. If the US doesn't help struggling countries...
So right, like we're talking about like the strength of the currency. It helps the United States to have the dollar be strong, and it helps the United States to have as many countries like at least holding reserves of our currency as possible. It maintains the value. It also spreads out risk, and so when you do have like one economy collapse, it's propped up by other economies. And we also have like this battle, and this is why it's been so nearsighted. I think this is why, if we're being honest, I think this is why Scott Bessent and Elon Musk hated each other so much, because they're at odds with each other. Their foreign policy is very much at odds with each other. When we're looking at this chart here, and we're talking about China going in, and when he's saying China's all over South America, what he means is China is providing aid and China is providing loans all over not only South America, but also Africa. And they're doing that as a replacement for USAID. So Scott Bessent understands that it's very important for us to, one, have good relationships all over the world, but two, to invest in humanitarian aid all over the world and currency loans so that we have good favor all across the world. He understands that. Elon Musk doesn't. So Elon Musk going in and eliminating all of these USAID contracts is a fucking problem for Scott Bessent's ideology. I think that's why they didn't like each other, and I think it's why Elon Musk is gone and nobody ever hears about him anymore. Scott Bessent won that battle within the White House. Those battles happened publicly. Apparently ended with Scott Bessent punching Elon Musk in the face. But that's why they don't like each other. Because Elon kind of fucked this up for Scott Bessent. And frankly, Scott Bessent's right. It was a dumb move to pull out of USAID. You got a bunch of MAGA voters who think that like, oh, they're going to use that money for us. We're going to get checks. You never got your checks, did you? And we didn't cut that much. As far as like total budget, it was something like 50 or 60 billion when it was supposed to be trillions of dollars. So not only did we suck at it, but we also blew all these relationships up. And then China came in and undercut us. And now China has those relationships. So what you're seeing in Argentina right now is an attempt to do something a little bit different. We can't do USAID. We can't just give them money. So we're going to do these currency swaps. But that's why this chart's important. That's why they're looking at it. That's why investing in other countries is actually important. I know how much you guys hate this, Republicans. I know you must hate all of this. And we mock you openly about like America first. That's all right. Give Argentina a bunch of money. But the reality is we have enough money to do both. We can help Argentina. We can help ourselves. We just need to raise taxes. But we can't have that because billionaires need all their money, right? So you guys are fucked every way you go. You can't do USAID because America first. You can't raise taxes to pay for our own shit. We also need to help Argentina if we want to maintain any sort of presence there. So we've got to give them money. You guys are just fucked in every direction because your ideology doesn't make any fucking sense. Having an ideology of low taxes is stupid because low taxes should come in times when like we're paying our bills and we don't need to pay more taxes. Low taxes would come at a time where we say like, oh, we've got a surplus right now. We have $1 trillion in surplus. Maybe this next year we don't need to collect as much in taxes. This next year we'll drop taxes because we can use this surplus to pay for some of our bills. That's when you lower taxes. But Republicans consistently lower taxes as the debt is going up, which makes absolutely no fucking sense. So that's why when you watch, like when you look at Republican economics, people like Scott Bessent will tell you it's just really complicated. It's not complicated. It doesn't fucking work. It's Band-Aid after Band-Aid after Band-Aid after Band-Aid after Band-Aid because they won't admit the truth that we have to tax our way out of this.
So the goal is to defend the dollar's global role by helping allies stabilize their economies before China does it with the yuan, which we know will be backed by gold. So that's the idea. If the US doesn't help struggling countries, it's not going to be able to exert its influence on the world, and China will instead, which of course it doesn't want. Okay, so he's like, Argentina is going to be a good example of how we're going to start doing this.
So we are going to...
It's pretty crazy to watch you guys be... Larry, Doge is not a government agency now. Just fucking Google some shit before you write it, dude. Google right now, Larry. Google, is Doge a government agency? And write out the answer. And you're going to find out that it's just like it's a department within the executive branch, but it's not a government agency. If it was a government agency, Congress would have oversight and Congress would have to create it. Just Google things before you say them, Larry. You're better than this, maybe.
Use Argentina as an example. We back up our allies.
And his reasoning is that Argentina is a country with huge potential, right? Big reserves of natural gas and lithium, farmland. But right now it's just crippled by bad monetary policy, right? Inflation over 200%, multiple currency rates, a history of defaults. His argument is that by stabilizing...
Sounds like a good country to loan money to. Sounds like a great country. You know what they did when we gave them money? They threw a fucking party. That's not good. You never want to see like when somebody is on the verge of collapse and you bail them out with money that's not going to, like, long term, you can't keep them afloat. It's going to keep them afloat for a while, and they immediately throw like lavish parties. This was a bad loan we just gave out. Jen said, if we want to combat the Trump train, we better get on the dollar train. Thanks, Jen. That's right, everybody. If you could jump on that dollar train, we'll knock that goal out in no time.
The peso and bringing Argentina back into the global financial system, the U.S. can do both, help an ally and protect the dollar's influence across Latin America, which also happens to be a region that China's been trying to do that with for years. Okay, but when you really look into this story, though, you have to ask, cui bono, as they say, right? Who benefits?
Thanks, Birdie.
How does the money flow and who does it go to? Which private funds have exposure to Argentina and its debt? This is where the story starts to take a little bit of a turn. So here's where things start to look a little strange, and the more I looked into it, the more I noticed some really interesting connections between Wall Street, the Treasury, and investors with really big interests in Argentina's debt. Now, before I show you that, I want to give a quick thank you to CyberGhost VPN for supporting this channel and making videos like this possible. Some very powerful people placed bets on Argentina.
Can I just say, I really appreciate any channel that like gives you a mark that you can go to when their ad is done. I really like that a lot.
Just a few of them, and I have to be very careful here for obvious reasons.
But real quick, before this goes on, Stick, shut the fuck up. The reason you got muted, and it wasn't by me, it was an auto mod, it's because I asked you a question and you started talking about trans people sucking your dick. That's why you got muted. It was YouTube that muted you. They did. I usually mute you for being annoying and stupid, but YouTube muted you because you're a bigot. So I don't know. Talk to YouTube about that. But that's why you got muted. Your comment didn't even show up. Did you notice that? That was an auto mod from YouTube. It's because you don't answer questions, Stick. It's because you don't have any real principles. You just like being like a troll. I'm going to guess that you don't have a lot going on in your life because you're here every day trolling. While you're here, though, Stick, nice to have you. Might as well fucking learn something, right? This isn't even partisan here. We're learning about economics today. You could shut the fuck up and stop crying about how you got muted, and you could learn something today, or you could be the MAGA perpetual victim that we know you all want to be.
Big funds that we know of. Funds like Discovery Capital, which was founded by Robert Citron, and Soros Fund Management. But where it gets interesting is that the current U.S. Treasury, young people who run these funds...
I take it back, Stick. One of our mods muted you. I take it back. You did your comment got censored, but then you got muted by a mod. There you go.
And have deep investment interests is the same person who spent decades making money from these types of trades. Now, that doesn't mean anything illegal is happening, but I think it's an interesting coincidence that's at least worth mentioning because a lot of the distressed debt, by the way, distressed debt just means any kind of bond that trades below 70 cents on the dollar. It's kind of a polite way of saying the market thinks you might never get your money back. High chance of default. Most of what Wall Street holds have been trading as low as 25 to 35 cents on the dollar in 2024 and 2025. That is deep distressed. That's most
right. And so when they're showing here, the black line is bonds. These are repayments that they have to make. They loaned out, but it's with interest. And you can see on the black line, 30 cents on the dollar.
Definitely not come in and fix Argentina's economy by cutting out unnecessary spending.
Oh.
Remember all those videos way back in the day? It's about taking that chainsaw to government bloat and removing all of it.
And everybody remembers that the chainsaw, Elon Musk made the chainsaw sound of a chainsaw. That was cool.
And if he could fix the economy, that would make...
No, Larry, you don't know what you're looking at, but trading for 30 cents on the dollar, that's bad. Right? Like the bonds are only worth 30 cents, but they're going to have to pay out the dollar amount. So that's bad, Larry. Looks like. Appreciate you following along.
Argentina's bonds valuable again. But that didn't end up happening, right? Inflation stayed above 200%. The peso has kept collapsing. And those same charged to
Trickle down economics doesn't work anywhere. It is bullshit, and you should stop supporting it. If you still think trickle down economics working dumb at this point, like you don't know what data is and you haven't fucking looked at any. It doesn't work. The whole reason that we've been talking about Milei is because Milei was going to do fucking dipshit. And Elon Musk is rich, but that doesn't make him brilliant. These are two people with economics degrees that don't seem to understand. Subscribe to is the theory that lets them keep more of their money. And they're so rich that they don't really know the plight of the American people. They don't know what it's like here. The debt doesn't mean a goddamn out. Well, we're all getting screwed. But there's that graph again. There's that graph. It was, let's go there. It was fucked. And then they did like more extreme trickle down economics and
necessary spending. Remember all those videos way back in the day? It's about taking that chainsaw to government bloat and removing all of it. And if he could fix the economy, that would make Argentina's bonds valuable again. But that didn't end up happening, right? Inflation stayed above 200%. The peso has kept collapsing. And those...
So they implemented crashed their currency. The policies that they implemented crashed their bond market. And then they came to the United States and said, hey, $40 billion. That'll fix it. Does this seem like a good bet? Would you invest in a company if they... It's not working. What we've been doing is not working. So we need some money. And you're like, all right, cool. What changes are you going to make? Do you invest in this company? If this was a company? Of course not. Of course you wouldn't invest in this company. You're like, oh, that's wasted money. I see what they do with money. They don't know how to handle money. They're fucking the whole thing up. All this debt that they've already taken out in bonds is worthless now. It's worth 30 cents on the dollar. Why would you?
Same bonds have fallen more than 30%. Argentina's risk premium, which is the price that investors charge.
One more thing. So because it's a currency swap, here's what happened. I don't know what the value we put on their currency was, but it was basically an exchange. So like 20 or $40 billion worth of their currency in exchange for $40 billion worth of rate, right? Like if the value of their dollar goes up, but if they can't fix their currency, if they can't turn that around, that thing Scott Bessent said earlier, how we've never lost money on a currency exchange, it would be the first time in American history that we lost money on the currency exchange. So Milei has to fix this. But he's telling us that the way he's going to glitchy again. Jeez, it's weird. Like every single app like glitches at a different time. TikTok sounds like it's good. I don't know. Is Twitch down? Twitch might have died. Nothing on my end. I don't know how this happens. Let me check real quick. One thing. Just speed test it. We should be good.
Yeah, TikTok has been solid, but Twitch has been down, and now it looks like
I just wanted to show you guys while you complain about the Wi-Fi. I'm on, like, that's my speed. Upload. 940, like, that's pretty damn good. I'm not a nerd, but that seems pretty good to me. All right.
Well, depending on how fast it is. I mean,
that's my internet speed. And AWS is out. That's right. Maybe AWS has been having problems all week. Let's see. All right, we'll keep going with this. Unless were you trying to say something, Jen? Sorry.
Nope.
Sorry, I talked all over you that whole time. My bad.
Increased exponential, bleeding money. What that means then is, out of nowhere, the U.S. Treasury steps in and says, don't worry, guys, we got you. We're going to stabilize your currency without congressional approval. We're going to use the ESF mechanism, right? And yeah.
These are all for us. It wasn't for influence. When Milei was coming here, Elon Musk was tweeting out, invest in Argentina. A bunch of rich people in America tried to diversify, and they've been investing in not only currency, but in businesses in Argentina. And they're bleeding money. They're bleeding money. So they reached out to Scott Bessent, and Scott Bessent's that. And guess what? Guess what they could do? That allows these people to get out of their position, or at least mitigate their loss. They know that, like, we're going to stabilize. It'll go up. And then they can also create short positions on the way back down. Up. That's good for the stock that they currently hold. But knowing that Argentina is going to fuck this shit up, they can also create short positions on their way out. They can also short the currency. And so let's say that the currency is worth, like, let's just say the equivalent is 10 to 1. I think Argentinian uses pesos. It's 10 to 1 pesos to dollars lose value, and you place a bet that it's going to go to 15 to 1. You're going to put an insurance. It's basically insurance there, and you're going to pay every month that it doesn't go to 15. You're going to pay a little bit of 2%. But if that currency drops, and the best time to short that position is when Milei is celebrating, when the United States steps in and the whole world goes out that he shorted the currency. And so on their way out, and those currency shorts can pay off really well. If most people think that the currency is going to keep going up, then if you short it, you might get convinced that that currency will stabilize or go up. They did this exact same thing. They worked with their friends, their investors, with the government to stabilize currency, to rise it, but they knew that the underlying value of that currency sucked and that eventually it would the value up a little bit, and they created all these short positions. It's an awful lot like our government just bailed out a bunch of American investors and allowed them to get these net positive or net even short positions either on their stocks or on their currency so that they can protect their own investments. That's what it looks like to me. Maybe someday we'll break even on these currency swaps. Maybe it won't hurt us at all. But even if it doesn't hurt us, what we just did is we took taxpayer funds and bailed out bad investments and allowed...
You're a potentially strategic partner, but as a side effect, it also happens to save billions of dollars for the exact funds and people that placed those bets on the recovery that never ended up happening, at least not organically. And because the official story doesn't tell us that this is a bailout, that's not the framing, no one can really criticize it as market intervention. But behaviorally, it looks like one. The money is...
Thanks, Spamerola, Jackie, Rebecca, Leslie, and Denise for joining the Dollar Train. I think I got all those.
Coming from the Exchange Stabilization Fund, which, remember, sits inside the Treasury. So if it takes the hit, that shortfall gets filled with new debt that taxpayers ultimately repay. And this actually has had real negative consequences on people like U.S. farmers. They're struggling because they are subsidizing private investors and our competitors. So this is where a lot of people have that problem with what's happening, because it also sets a very bad example. The U.S. government is now publicly saving billionaire investors who made bets that went bad. So then if this becomes the model, doesn't it tell other hedge funds that...
Also, they got a tax cut. We gave them carve-outs to write off up to 100% of a yacht purchase. We gave them tax breaks for tanning beds in their house. We cut their taxes of all these terrible loans. We will bail them out again, and we're allowing their risk with gold, and we're allowing them to free up capital right now. What's going to happen right now? So the Fed's going to drop the rate 0.25%, right? And if these Fed rates keep going, it's going to allow these people who have bad loans to take their loans and refinance them, and some of them will cash out. It'll open up liquidity. And what are they going to do with that liquidity? They're going to short our fucking market. They're going to short our currency, and they're going to short our stock market. And so when the stock market crashes, not only will they benefit, because they've probably learned from this, because they've got to be at least as smart as I am, not only are they going to do that, but then the government's going to come in and save their businesses with zero interest loans or very low interest loans that are better than the rates they could even get at the Fed. And I'm guessing, unlike the Obama administration, who at the very least had the foresight to attach repayment for these bailouts for the auto manufacturers, I'm going to guess that Trump gives them 0%. I'm going to guess that Trump doesn't ask for a repayment. I hope that he does, but I'm going to guess that he doesn't. Everything in this country is done for the billionaire class, none of it for you. This is risky. If this fails, we can devalue our own currency, and that's a problem. That's a problem when our own bonds come due, when we have a 10-year bond and we have to pay back that bond with interest. Right now, just think about it. If you gave, let's just use simple numbers. Let's say you bought a $100 bond from the U.S. Treasury, and let's say that the 10-year yield on that, you're going to get 10%. So you're expecting $110 back from the Treasury. That's fine. The Treasury likes that. That'll keep up with inflation. But if the Treasury, if the value of the dollar was strong when the Treasury sold that bond, and then they have to reimburse it right now, well, our currency is worth about 13% less. So we're paying, we're getting basically 87% or 87 cents on the dollar there, right? It devalues our currency. It pisses off people who are going to buy in the bonds markets. It makes it so that less people want to buy bonds from us. It ruins our credit because these people are going to get repayment, but at $110, they've still lost money because the value of the dollar is down 13%. So even though they had a yield on that they thought they were going to make out like a fat rat in a cheese factory, they actually lose money. And then nobody wants to buy our bonds anymore. Also, we can bail out some billionaires who made a bad bet on a dumb fucking idiot who was running Argentina. I don't know why anybody ever heard that guy speak or watch him speak and were like, oh, that's a guy I should invest in. But they did it anyways because Elon Musk told them to do it. This fucks all, it hurts all of us. And it may not be devastating, but it's just one more example of this administration doing whatever the fuck they want, being as corrupt as they want, now using the Treasury to bail out their friends.
The US can save you as long as you can, work out a backdoor deal, and it can just be reframed as we're going to defend the dollar, right? We're going to defend American values. But the reality is,
imagine being Stick and seeing all of this and then being like, you know who should be president next? The guy that is completely bought and paid for by Peter Thiel and these exact fucking billionaire oligarchs who are getting bailed out right now. Imagine typing Vance 2028. All of these people that invest, these are Vance's people. They're the ones that own him. They're the ones that tell him what to say. They're the ones with their hands up his ass making that stupid face talk. Imagine watching all of this and going, I think JD Vance is the answer to this. JD Vance for sure will take all of the people who made him and tell them to go fuck themselves. For sure. Imagine being Stick. Somebody said, I don't think you understand this stuff, Stick. I think that was like the most blatant, obvious answers to how you don't understand this. Because the people who did this are the people who are pulling the strings for JD Vance.
Is that the US is already running multi-trillion-dollar deficits. We're borrowing to fund programs, and somehow we're supposed to have an extra $40 billion laying around to gamble on another country's hyper-inflated currency. So that doesn't make much sense. But let me just tie it all together and explain how this story is part of a much bigger picture. Because yes, this definitely helps Argentina. And it definitely helps the billionaire friends of this administration. But I don't think it's just about Argentina. It's also about the US fighting its war with China over the idea of what money should look like in the future. Because think about what's happening. China's getting ready to build its gold core.
Thank you, Nicholas. Soup for My Fam says chicken thighs or chicken breast for pita pockets. The answer is always chicken thighs. I don't trust anybody who chooses chicken breast over chicken thigh. I just assume that you hate flavor in your food.
Right? The node of vaults across Asia, Africa, Latin America, and they're literally creating a parallel financial system backed by their economy with the money that's redeemable for gold. And the US has also been doing kind of the same thing, but in reverse. So this bailout of Argentina, I don't think it's some random act of charity, right? It's not altruism, and the president's not doing it just to be nice.
Which is what he said, right? He's like, you guys don't understand. These people are really struggling. I'm doing it out of the goodness of my heart. Sure. Stick said, RTP, another thing I like about America is the fact that I came from nothing but made something of myself. That happens in almost every developed country. Just so you know, like every country has upward mobility. And every country has like a class of people that it's easier to have upward mobility. In this country, it's me. It's the white dudes. It's a good place. But like that exists in Canada, it exists in Mexico, it exists everywhere, bud. That's not uniquely American.
Doing it because it's supposed to telegraph to the world that the US still has that power to stabilize economies whenever it wants. China might be lending in yuan backed by gold. The US is now lending dollars backed by treasuries, right? And Argentina is sort of this test case scenario because it's the one Latin American country that's been slowly getting closer and closer to China. Because over the last few years, China's banks have lent Argentina billions of dollars to build things like power plants and railways and nuclear projects. They've been trying to pull Argentina into their sphere of influence, if you will, just like they've done with dozens of other countries across Africa and Asia. So the US is like, whoa, hold on a minute. You guys are becoming too close of friends. We're like, we'll lend you $40 billion if you need.
Here's the difference between our dipshit president and China. China developed a relationship that was mutually beneficial. China said, oh, you guys sell soybeans? We'll buy those. Oh, you sell beef? We'll buy that. We'll subsidize your economy by importing things from your economy. And the United States said, what if we just gave you a bunch of money instead? Can we just do that? We'll just give you some money. That'll fix it. Because none of them understand any of this shit, except for Scott Bessent. But he's looking out, obviously, for his friends here. That's the difference between like a competent government that China has right now and us. We are wildly incompetent. I don't know all the world leaders. I don't know the president of every country. But God damn it, if we don't, we got to be top 5 dumbest. Our president is a fucking moron. And they let him make we let him make decisions, and people still support him. China is 55 fucking steps ahead of Donald Trump at all times. China is benefiting from this. China is also helping Argentina, but it's long lasting. It's like somebody like saying I need water, like they live at a house, they don't have water, and you're like, oh cool. The United States shows up with like 12 cases of water, and we're like, here you go. And China shows up and digs a well. The well's long lasting. The well is something that benefits them. The well is something they can keep going to generate income. This handout, which you guys are so against, by the way. I thought you guys were against handouts. You're cool. You hate handouts when it goes to poor people in America, but God damn it, do we love handouts when they go to poor people in Argentina? Which it's not going to go to them, by the way. It's just gonna be used and abused by Malay because he's a dipshit.
And that's to block China's influence and its play to keep Latin America in the dollar system. And if it works, if Argentina can stabilize, which seems to be totally conditional on Javier Milei's re-election, because President Trump said if he does not get reelected, the U.S. won't support him.
I'm with this man because his philosophy is correct. And he may win and he may not win, but I think he's going to.
Yeah, if his philosophy is so correct, why does he suck so goddamn bad? I like it because his philosophy is correct. That's why his country desperately needs a bailout, because it's so correct. They were struggling, and then he cut all of this funding, and then he cut everything, and it got worse. So it must be correct.
Win, and if he wins, we're staying with him, and if he doesn't win, we're gone.
But if he does win, and if it works, I think we're going to see the strategy.
Which, by the way, he did. This video is like 4 or 5 days old. He did win. It was an absolute boost to him that Trump gave him that money. He was probably going to win anyways. They have the same problem in Argentina that we have here, where MAGA creates all these problems, but they just blame the other side anyway. Like, even though it's their version of MAGA that's in charge, they just blame everybody else because they've been sold this bill of goods that Milei is a genius because he brought, he's friends with Elon Musk and Donald Trump. They have the same problem we do. They got a whole bunch of sticks voting over there.
Play out again and again, but with other countries. There's already rumors that other currency stabilization partnerships could be next for countries like Brazil, very important, Colombia, Egypt, Kenya.
The Obama administration missed a big opportunity in the 8 years he was in, as many Latin American governments went center-right. So we are seeing Argentina, Paraguay, Ecuador, Bolivia.
Countries that have all taken huge amounts of infrastructure loans from China that are now drowning in debt. Like Brazil, for example, owes tens of billions to China's state banks through the Belt and Road Initiative, and it's already part of BRICS, right? Colombia's peso has fallen over 20% last year, and it's facing serious inflation pressure. Egypt, which is one of China's biggest borrowers in Africa, is also on the verge of another IMF rescue. These are exactly the kind of candidate countries where the US could step in and try this out with. And remember, this is not the first time this has happened. Like I said, it's happened before in 1995 when we bailed out Mexico, right? For the similar reasons, to keep it from falling into financial chaos that could have spilt over into the US. But this time it's a little different because back then, the world was still on the dollar standard. But now that's changing. And the US is playing offensive defense, if you will. It also just happens to benefit some of the wealthiest people in the world, like Discovery Capital, which is one of the biggest holders of Argentina's debt, run by a former Soros fund manager, and the current Secretary of Treasury, who also worked under George Soros, running billions at the same company. That's all just kind of a side added benefit, which I'm sure has nothing to do with this. I'd love to know what you think, though. As always, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. I'd love to see you back here next week. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
He's kind of right, Argus. They're executing Kissinger's plan. Yeah, kind of, right? Christina said, thank you for platforming the crisis in Sudan and the corruption and exploitation by the UAE or of Africa. You're welcome. Thank Athena for that. She reached out to me, and she knows her shit, so it was pretty easy for me to just sit there. Elisa said, for the goal, thank you. Jessica said, great again, and Shelly said, love the show. I can't hear the sound effects. Which one was it? Or are you talking about on their movie? Athena's greater than all. She is so smart. Is there anything else I need to cover before we get out of here? I think that's about it. Okay. Update the goal. Why don't we listen to something? What haven't we listened to for a while? We haven't listened to this one. Like if I get a pool noodle and go to the park and LARP with my friends and dress up in costumes, how's that any different than being a Republican? It's not. We've discussed this ad nauseum, but it's just not. I don't know where we're at on the gift goal. I think we were kind of close to it, so I appreciate that. Guys, we'll be back at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time tonight over with Admir. I saw Fee. Fee said Admir was out here talking shit about Democrats, which is fine. I support talking shit about Democrats. I'm not sure what he said, but Jen Nacho Jake's asking if you got his Venmo. Did I not read it? I didn't read it. I see it. Great show as always. Thanks for all the hard work and research. Athena was fantastic. Thank you, Jake. Sorry I didn't read that earlier. What's up, Jen?
I was just hopping in to make sure you read that. That's all.
You don't have anything else to say?
No, just date night at 6 Pacific time. If you haven't subscribed, do so.
Your TikTok of your conversation with Bestie was hilarious.
Oh,
she's so she's so funny.
she's here. She's actually home. She's got like parent teacher conferences this week. Yeah, it was so fun. She just heard me talking about her.
Hey, Bestie.
Bestie said you're.
Hey, Bestie.
You're funny, dude.
What did I do?
Your mom posted your text messages from last night, and they were really about the egg.
Remember the egg?
Yeah, we're not gonna mind that.
Well, it's all over the internet now, and it's funny. You're funny.
Yeah.
I was laughing.
Yeah, no, it was funny. Like she leaned into it for sure.
I didn't see anything.
But I wasn't sure if she was gonna go for it or not. But she's like, so what was that really about? So, but are we planning on having a show tomorrow?
Yeah, we'll have a show tomorrow. Yep. Going forward, I think we'll probably always do Thursday shows. I've got somebody to cover me most of the time on those Thursdays. We just got bills to pay, so taking that day off was kind of a bummer. And with YouTube, it looks like we're back to that throttled views today. I'll have to see if I fuck something up. Also, I don't think that most people tune in to hear what Athena wanted to say today. That's hard. It's hard to hear.
Yeah. Some of that was too much. Like Patrick left. Patrick was not wanting to stay. So.
Oh no, not Patrick. What are we gonna do?
We're devastated. So, but I see TikTok. I saw the gift. It was super cool. Jay's gonna have to go back and rewatch it because Streamlabs doesn't show it. But
Streamlabs, man.
So there was a cool gift sent.
Will you? I don't know how to find those. Will you help me find it?
I can find it. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. All right, guys, we'll be back at 6. And thanks for the gift. I don't know who sent it. Can I tell them thank you while they're here? Who sent the gift?
I think it was Creative.
Creative, thank you.
But I could be wrong.
All right, we'll be back at 6. Oh, it was Creative. Creative was the #1 gift today, followed by Jen, Blueheart US 2.0, then Bobby, LLM, and Purdy Kiki. That rounds out the top 5. Thank you guys so much for helping us stay afloat. Thank you for the gifts. Thanks for tuning in. And mostly thank you for Athena for being here. I don't know, Athena, if you're still here, but thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us. We'll be back tonight at 6 Pacific Standard Time. And if you're not there with us on TikTok, come back tomorrow morning, 9:30 a.m. to 1 Pacific Standard Time, right here, wherever the fuck you're watching. I love you all a lot, and stay cute and cool. Have a great summer.